Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's my birthday. I mean, it's not. My birthday was Friday, but I didn't feel like streaming on Friday, so. Hi, I'm 28. My coworker said I was 50, so doing great so far. Um, but yeah, how have you guys been? How's it going? How's life? How's love? All that fun stuff. How's it do? How's it going? I tried to be an adult and I requested. What's wrong with my camera? Whoa, there we go. That was weird. Never happened before. But I tried to be an adult and I requested furniture for my birthday. I'm gonna get it next week. Well, I guess this week, but like boring. I tried to like be an adult and be reasonable and be like, oh, I'll just celebrate my birthday on my birthday. There's no need to celebrate my birthday for the whole month. I don't need to do that. Never again. That was so boring. One of like my worst birthdays. I was like, oh, that's it. Ew, boring. Like, I need to celebrate the whole month. Don't let anyone dim your shine, okay? Because there was this tweet a couple years ago, during my birthday month, when someone was like, "Oh, I hate when people celebrate their birthday for the whole month. Like, get over yourself." And I was like, "Is this play about us? What is going on here?" So I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to celebrate for the entire month. Nope, never again. I will do it every single time. Every May, that's mine. Sure, my grandma's born the day before mine, and we're gonna visit her today. But like, it's me, my month, and I want to celebrate. It's not fun. It's not. It's not fun if I don't celebrate for the whole time. It's boring. Ew, gross, disgusting. But otherwise, it was a great time. It was a good time. It was a great time. I'm trying to check my audio 1 second. Okay, just making sure you guys can hear the music and the music is not too loud. I always, because there's so many different like parameters or whatever. Like my actual desktop audio is at 30%, but then like the Streamlabs is at like 50%, but then like my actual audio output is at like 40%. So it's just, it's a whole thing. So I never know how much you guys can actually hear. So I want you guys to hear my music, but not like overwhelm. It's loud for me because I'm trying to like zone out. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Um, I went on a walk today. I was planning to go on a jog. I haven't gone in like a week. I was planning to go on a jog, but I was like, you know what? I haven't just like taken in the scenery in a while. I'm like, oh, jogging is work time. But like, remember when I was just going on a leisurely stroll and just relax and enjoy the time? I took my earphones out. I didn't use my earphones today, which is crazy. I used to like have stuff blasting in my ears all the time. That's why my stuff is at 30% now, because I can't hear. If I've turned up too much, it's gonna hurt my ears. Like I very delicate now. Um, but I was like, you know what? I want to take in the environ. It was so nice. It was actually really sweet. Like as soon as I started, I forgot that I would usually listen to music. Like I thought I would be like in my head about, oh, I want to like zone everything out. Oh jeez, these sounds are so annoying. But like it was lovely, which is crazy. Like I've developed so much as a person. Like I don't even want to plug my ear, like zone my ears out anymore, which is a lot. I never thought I would get this far, honestly, but like here I am. Don't want to mess up my lipstick. Hold on. I think I got it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. um. But yeah, it's life is good. I'm 28. You guys, do I look 28? How old do I look? No filters. There's no filter on my stream. Do I look 50 yet? One thing is that my smile lines, I've always had them. So like these are gonna make me look older. But like there are people who are like, oh, you gotta drink your straws like this, so you don't like put lines in your face. And it's like there's nothing wrong with having an expressive face. I have a very expressive face, so I'm gonna have lines here and I'm gonna have lines up here because I'm just like, see that? Yeah. um. So that's where like most of the aging is gonna be. But I feel like I'm fine. 28, grown. I'm an adult. I mean, I've been an adult, but like I'm the most adult I've ever been. So it's like, ew, weird. But it's okay. It be like that. Um, I thought I would, when you're younger, you just think that you would just feel some sort of way, but it's like I feel normal. I feel like I'm here. I think I look 30, which is not a bad thing. It's just like it's a fact. I think. But again, I'm always looking at my face and I know how old I am. So like I feel like if people just like see me on the street, I don't think they would think that, but I don't know. My skincare has been doing absolutely fantastic. My man baby's bottom. Are you kidding me? Boo talk right here. Yep, yep, yep. It's gorgeous. Feels absolutely fantastic. Toner, exfoliation, sunscreen, best thing, best thing, best thing. But yeah, we're gonna play Not to Bury today. I was like, oh, am I gonna do like some special big save today? No, I'm not. Don't not. It's okay. But we're playing Nacho Berry. I know I said that I was gonna sort this out off stream. I didn't. Like her moving her house and stuff like that. I didn't. So we're just gonna do it now. We're just gonna do it now. It's fine. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know, man. Uh, during an event. Oh, it's still going on. Okay. Jesus, too close. Too close. All right. Cool. Oh, my watch is almost dead. For a leisurely stroll, it's not so bad. I did like 270 calories for like a just a chill walk, which honestly, not bad, not bad, not bad. So um, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm really trying to like be more active. I really am, cause I've been lacking when it comes to exercising, and that's not good. It's not great. It's not a good habit to have. So I'm trying to get back into it. It's June, all right, first day of June. Trying to really get Where's my rocket? Oh, did I already put this in my household inventory? Dude, I was about to lose it. I was like, where's my rocket? Where did it go? But it's fine. It's fine. It's no big deal. What is this? Um, what is that actually? I want to make sure that I have all my stuff for the move. Um, you're very tense. It's fine. You can die by anger with like a heart attack. I wonder what like tense does. I wish like I guess being tense just stops you from doing other things. It doesn't necessarily do anything to you, which makes sense. I don't know. I know you can't technically die from sadness. You can die from heartbreak, but like I think it would be cool if that happened. But whatever. Them again from grieving. Anger is bubbling up inside Saffron, making it impossible for her to let this sim off the hook without giving them a piece of her mind. Oh, brother. She's having a hard time. We did kill her parents. We did indeed kill her parents. So that's something that I understand. I get that. That's understandable. Um, how is it not counting as eat cake? Don't upset me. We did eat the cake. Please. Please. My birthday isn't that bad. She's already having a hard time. Let's not do this right now. But yeah, after this we'll move. But yeah, I requested a bed for my birthday. Because I want my room to be black. After the bed, I think I'm gonna get a nightstand because I have too much stuff on my desk. Like I have my phone case, I have my water, I have my medicine, I have like my not like a pencil case, but like like the little stand, the thing, yeah, yeah. Yeah. What is this? High school diploma? Okay, yeah. Let's put this in inventory. Um, I wonder where's our parents' marriage certificate and stuff like that. Do we still have that in here? Yeah, we have everything in here. Where's my rocket? Where's my rocket? Oh, it's here. Okay, okay, fine. We're cool. We're solid. Let's move. Let's leave. But yeah, I want a nightstand so I can keep some of my stuff there. And then another thing that I want a dresser. I need a black dresser. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to renovate my room. I need more stuff. I need more things. So that's what I want. So I'm happy that I asked for it as a present. It's just you know if things that are like functional, like I got my smartwatch for Christmas, right? And it's like yeah, that's nice. I use it every day and stuff. It's cool. It helps a lot with like I lost a lot of weight because of it. However many calories you think you're burning, that's not how much you're burning. You're definitely burning less than that. Like you would think that like, oh, I do such and such every day. Like why aren't I losing weight? You definitely aren't burning enough as much calories as you think you are. You really aren't. And I really thought I was absolutely killing it. I thought I was like, like I thought there was something wrong with me. Nope. Nope. I just wasn't burning enough calories. So it's great and everything, but like I don't know. Where's the 30 by 20? Um, Everybody lives here. 30 by 20. Maybe I put it here. Mayhaps. Per maybe. Um, oh, okay. I picked others. Where is it? Did I not save it to my library? The little Simsy house? What the heck? What the heck? Where is it? I feel like it would be at the front. Okay, fine. Fine, I'll go search for it. Fine. Fine, Jesus. That's what I get. Um, I guess I would put like yellow not to berry. Oyster Springs looks great. Yeah, it does. It does. Hi, Ben's Habit? Benzabat? Yes. Oyster Spring does look great. There's the person that I would download the maps overlay. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for follow. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. Oh my gosh. Not so berry. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. I hope you're having a good time. Hope you're having a great time. Following maybe? Melixa. No, I want to. Let me just put yellow. Let me just put yellow. Yellow family home, yellow suburban. I want it from Little Simsy. Yellow not to berry. Wait, no. That's not what I want. Why does it look like that? Help. I think it's spelled out not to berry. Of course. Yeah, I was just talking about the stuff that I want for my birthday. Like just stuff that I want. I'm getting a new bed, so that's fun. What I want, what I really want. Tell me what you want, what you really want. I want like a standing bicycle, so I can if it's like rainy outside or whatever, I can still like exercise at home and just like running around your house. It's just not the same. You know, it's just not the same. So I want like a just as like a standing bicycle. I think that would help a lot because I don't know. I really want, what I really want is like one of those like step machines, but I'm trying to have things that like don't take up too much electricity. So I think having like a cycle, I guess, where it has resistance that like you can turn up and turn down and stuff like that, and you just do the thing. I think that would be very helpful. But how are you? How do you like The Sims? Are you into The Sims? All that fun stuff. How are you feeling with The Simmies? I am doing Not So Berry right now, so I am really liking Not So Berry. If I could find it, if I could find it, um, Purple House, most popular? I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. um, I actually don't know when she made it. Ugh, it shouldn't be this hard. How did I find it the first time? How in the world did I find it the first time? Oh, fine. I'll check. Jesus Christ. Why is this so difficult? Okay. Not so berry. Mint not so berry. I want yellow not so berry. Blue not so berry. Green not so berry. Peach not so berry. Pink. Yellow not so berry. That's not the one I want. There's another one. Is it red not so berry? Gray, yellow. That's not the one I want. Oh my god. This is so frustrating. Yellow. Is this the one? Not so berry. Is this it? Oh my god, this is it. Nice. Okay. We got it. We got there. We got there eventually. You are going to go here? Maybe this is where it's supposed to go? I'm not sure. I have no clue. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I want like some posters as well. Because I have my tapestry here, which is great. That's fun. But the wall I'm looking at is completely blank. I want some posters. I want like some black posters. I don't know what they're called, but like they're like outlines. Like the actual thing is like it's hollow outside of like the actual outline of the design. Like say it's like a woman, right? So like the outline of the woman would be black, but like the actual like outside of that outline would be blank, and it's just like in a black square. I want like a bunch of those. I want like 3 of those on my wall. That'd be so fun. You know what I need? I need some plants in here. I've been thinking. I was like, oh, what kind of plant do I want? Do I really, really want? I can't stop myself. Um, like, what kind of plant do I actually want? It's like, do I want it to be fake? It's like, no, but then it's like, what kind of like? I don't really like flowering plants, so like, how is it gonna go? You know what I mean? But I definitely want some plants. I don't know if I want it on my window. Oh, I would love it underneath the posters. My only thing is that the poster is like above my bed, so like putting like a shelf above my bed feels like it's gonna fall on me, or I'm like gonna wake up and I'm gonna hit my head. It's not gonna be that high up, but like still, um, I still want it. So I don't know, man. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah, that's really what I want. That's really what I'm looking for. That would be so fun. I really need some green in here. I need some color. I need some color. I'll pick this one. Why not? It's cute. You're cute or whatever. It's cute or whatever. Um, can I put you somewhere here? Please. Please. I don't want to have to turn move objects on. Why do you have to be on the ground? Fine. If you want to be so bb dot move objects one. Bam, bam, bam. Nice. I'll put this bad boy over here. I want the fuse box. These are the things that I always put in all of my houses. I want the water heater, I want the fuse box, I want laundry, I want dust. I want it all. I want it all. You know what I found recently? Air conditioning. Air um hmm. Would it be like a AC? Uh hmm. Would it be pool? Is it central air? What is it called? Central window. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna type AC. See if it does anything for me. No, of course not. Fine. I'll sort by the pack. I think it's for rent. I don't use for rent for anything except the stuff. The stuff is so good. Oh, speaking of packs, oh my gosh, didn't they do like a thing? I didn't get to read it, but like there's this promo thing for the new fairies pack. Oh, I want to see it so bad. I hope the fairies pack is good. I hope it's really good. Like really, really, really good. Cause they're really gassing it up. They really are, and I want it. I want to see it. I need to see it. Ignore gameplay. All out sheet is off. Oh, you did everything off. Wait, what the heck? Oh, that's weird. Um, why can't I find things? Thank you. There you are. Beautiful. Wall-mounted air conditioning unit. Okay. So then what? Okay, whatever. Whatever. Sir, that's so strange. Why can't I put it here, but I can't put it here? I have move objects on. Why can't I put it on the window? I'm gonna whatever. um, so let's turn it on again. Why are you doing this to me? Do you want to be in the window? Fine. Sure, sure. What I want, I need a thermostat. Thermostat. Sure. Um, yeah, I want to see. I want to see all of this stuff. I guess I could just check it now. I mean, I guess there's nothing stopping me. I guess I could just check it right now. You know what? Why don't we? I'm so like in the zone when it comes to streaming. Like I don't want to do anything else outside of like the game that's actually there. But like I could do other stuff. I could do other stuff. It's not gonna stop me. So you know what? I will. I heckin' will. This will go. I'm just sorting this out. I know I said I was gonna do this before, but it's whatever. It's no big deal. I'm gonna put this bad boy over here, obviously. Wait, yeah, I want to know like what's up with the fairy stuff. I hope it's coming out soon. I mean, they did objects on. Um, they did what's it called? They did put out a roadmap for the roadmap. When is the actual roadmap coming out? I guess I should double check that. I need to put it in my calendar. Um, but I should check that because I want to know. I want. Oh Jesus, I want to know like what I'm in for. and not be surprised for anything. You know what I am upset about? That the Megan Thee Stallion thing, that it was just a stream. Like, I need it to be more than just a stream. I'm sorry. I'm gonna need it to be more than just a stream. I really am. Because what do you mean? What do you even mean? Ooh, there's a burglar alarm. Do I need a burglar alarm? Ah, whatever. What I want, boom, you are going to be sciencing. So we're gonna go singles hangouts, peace and quiet, boom, because you're the only one. I want maybe fast internet, programming, video gaming, and writing skills. How do you get handiness? Homie, sure. And we also need chef's kitchen, fast internet. Party place, penny pinxes. Sunny aspect, sure. Feeling good. My sim is so stressed. I want mold, quake, simple living, reduce. I need filthy. Creepy collies maybe? No, creepy collies is kind of annoying. All right, sick. This is our house. Bam, boom, easy, 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 easy clap. Okay, cool. But yeah, let me see what the Sims thing's got going on. So let me see the Sims. Where you at? Sims, did they put it out? Or is it just like a website? They said it was, somebody said it was a website. The roadmap is gonna be on the 5th. The 5th is, I'm assuming that's Thursday? Yeah, that's Thursday. Okay, that's not too far. Summer drop, Sims board game, cool. I need Sims for fairies. Where's the website? Chance by Nature, confirmed by EA. Pack teaser. June 12th. Fairies have been revealed. Okay, but where's the website? Call type is still in Sims 4. Mod, we need fairies. Where's the website? Where's the website? I swear they did it. I swear there was a website. Sims community. Let me see. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Sims community. Fairies confirmed. 31st. Enchanted by Nature. Hottie stream. Oh, was it on the stream? 30-second teaser? Oh, what? Focus on New Zealand. Oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a second. I gotta show you guys. Let me see. Window capture. It's gonna be Enchanted by Nature. Boom. Bap. Can you see? Boom. Easy. How do I F11? Nice. Close this. Wait, hold on. I'm not ready. Wait, I'm not ready. Oh god. Where is the teaser? Okay. Full screen. Turn the music up. Turn the music on. Fairies trailer reveal. Oh my gosh. Burglar. Oh, she's pretty. Ah, why are you stealing my stuff? Oh. Wait. This looks like it's a burglar thing. Are you gonna do something fairy-like? You're fighting it. Where's the fairy stuff? What is going on here? This isn't during the Sims 4 30-second trend fairy themed expansion pack. So where is it? This looks like it's the burglars update. We've already seen this one. Why are you thinking about the burglar? Great, you saved them. Burglar is back. Yeah, I can see. Where's the 30-second thing? In a short teaser, you can see a small fairy house. Where is it? You're listed the wrong video. Okay, this is it. Okay. Jesus Christ. Why would you put that video there? Come on now. I'm so happy we get fairy houses. I was scared they weren't going to give it to us, but it looks like they're partying in there. We got like a magic tree back there. We got some mushrooms. Okay, so it's a teaser for the trailer. Okay, I'm happy. I'm happy we're getting fairy houses. I was worried about that for a second, but I am happy that we're getting the little fairy houses. Nice. They're out. They're having the best fun in there. I wonder. I know it's not gonna make any sense, but if you could shift tab while they're in there, that would be the funniest thing. That would actually be the funniest thing. So we can see their little party. Um, June 12th. I'm interested. I'm excited. Excited. All right. So we get the actual roadmap on the 5th, and the trailer comes out on the 12th. The 12th is gonna be next week. The next week Thursday, not this Thursday. Next week Thursday. Okay. Okay. This is doable. This is understandable. Thursdays? I think, yeah, I'm free on Thursdays. Nero! Hi. Hello. We're just watching the fairy teaser thing. But yeah, how are you doing? How is everything? Hey, it's my birthday. Hey, hey. I mean, it's technically not my birthday, but hey, hey. My birthday was Friday, but hey. Let's go. I'm 28. I'm grown adult. Well, yeah. How are you? How is everything? How is your day? How is your May? How is everything? Mm. Went on a run this morning, so I'm thirsty. Happy early birthday. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that is very sweet. That's so nice. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. I'm happy. Life is good. Life is awesome. It's fun out here and whatnot. But seriously, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to like for my 28th year of life. I'm trying to lock in. um I'm really trying. I'm eating right now. Oh, what are you eating? Let me live vicariously through you. I had Popeyes last night. Love Popeyes. Listen, there's a stereotype. I mean, it's not a stereotype, but like most people in Jamaica really, really like KFC. When I tell you, it's not that good. KFC, it used to be really good. When I was a kid, mwah, perfect. The little like salty original, gorgeous. But now their stuff's greasy. It's got like blood in the middle. They use like powdered mashed potatoes. Ugh. Ew. KFC is disgusting. Popeyes, that's where it is. That's where it's at. So we had Popeyes biscuits. I love a good biscuit. Okay. Had some chicken, sausage, egg, and cheese croissants. Ooh, I've never had a croissant. I've never had a croissant. Croissant is like one of those like things that look like this, right? They're like that. Is that a croissant? Croissant. Is that what it is? It's not a pretzel. Because I'm thinking about a pretzel, but like an actual croissant is like it's like this, and it's like a little wrapped in the middle. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to do more. I know this sounds ridiculous. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I would absolutely love. No, not even. I will this month. I will go to the grocery store by myself. I know. What is she even thinking? You know, why would you even do such a thing, right? But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Oh my god, I'm so scared. Just thinking about it is freaking me out. I'm so scared. But it's okay. It's fine. I'll live. We're gonna do it. Okay. But yeah, I'm you know, for since like November, well, I guess like for like a year now, um, I've been like, you know, struggling with like new diagnosis and like new mental stuff. Um, so I'm trying to move forward instead of constantly like being like, oh my gosh, how am I going to survive with such and such, right? I'm just gonna take a big leap forward and just try to adjust as I go. So that's the plan. That is the plan. Um, so we're gonna do big things. Hopefully, I don't stress out too much. Hopefully, I don't stress too much. Sell furniture, 15. Sure. Um, I'm gonna free real estate on. Bam. Uh, you can give me one of these. I'm gonna move into the same house, just in the appropriate place. Let us sell the furniture, please. Please, please, please. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Could this be your perfect home? Yes. It's almost like the creator of the challenge made this for this specific sim. Yes. Yes. Um, man, I'm gonna be doing big things. I'm scared. I'm so afraid. But this the only way you can make progress. The only way you can make progress is if you know, do new things and do things that you're afraid of. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm really scared, but it's okay. It's okay to be scared. Being brave is doing things even though you're scared. It's not being scared. It's doing things even though you're scared, knowing that it's the right thing to do and you're gonna do it anyway. Yes, I'm trying to hype myself up. I'm really trying. And these are just like normal things that like normal people would do, but like I would have a very hard time. And I just, I'm trying to push myself to do more. I really hope I'm not gonna do too much for myself, like, and like stress myself out, but it's okay. We shall survive. We will get through it. Join a career. We're gonna be an astronaut, boys. I keep thinking that like, oh, it's the same one as the first Not So Berry Sim, but no, she was a mad scientist. This one is an astronaut. It's different, you guys. It's not the same. It's different. um, Scientist. Boom. But wait, no. Wait, yes. Wait. Oh, they're different. Oh, you got this. Thank you. I'm trying my best. This whole time I thought like being an astronaut was like a branch of the scientist career. I'm like, oh, we're gonna do like active careers again. Like, I don't feel like doing all that. What? Who doesn't dream of going to space? Becoming an astronaut and the galaxy will be your playground. Career branches: Space Ranger or Interstellar Smuggler. I think she's gonna be a Ranger. I do believe she's going to be a Ranger. 59 buckaroos an hour from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. 4 days a week. Wow. That's honestly, it's not the worst schedule or payment. That's not the worst thing I've seen. Goddamn. Okay. So, what do we have here? Nerd brain. Launch and upgrade our rocket 5 times. All right, let me get my rocket. Let me get in my pocket. Is that your space rocket? Or you just happy to see me? um, yeah. What are some new things that you guys are gonna do this month? What? How are you going to challenge yourself this month? How are you gonna make life worth living? How are you going to make things different this month? I I need inspiration. I need inspiration. Um, I need to know that you guys are doing similar things. Not even similar. I just want to know that we're all trying to push ourselves. Let's try to push ourselves, because some people, like, people don't realize that, like, when people are like, oh, they're having like a midlife crisis, or like, they want to up and leave their whole family and stuff like that. A lot of times they're just bored. A lot of times they are bored. Oh, I completely forgot about my little dude, my guy, my pal. I need you. Um, I mean, I did put you like right here the last time. So, um, if we could do that again, that'd be great. So I'm just gonna remove you. I'm sure you wouldn't mind. I'm sure it's no big deal. And we're gonna get one of these. Ay. Oh, my vacuum. How could I miss such a thing? My cume. My vacuum. A bunch of stuff in here. A bunch of stuff that I don't need. There's a bunch of plants in here that I don't need. Nice. Awesome. But yeah, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to get a full-time job. I've been working part-time for about a year now, and it's been great for, mental health and all that stuff. I just need more. I need more money, and I mean, if I want to be a doctor, obviously I'm in med school. I'm gonna start clinical rotations next year, September, not this September, next September. So I need to get back into the groove of working full-time. Um, so I gotta start somewhere, So I'm really trying with that. I'm gonna try to do for me, trying to get more of a system or schedule under control. Right. I'm trying to do my system again. Like, I'm gonna be streaming for 4 hours today, which it's big word for Elmo. Okay, it's a big word for Elmo. um, I don't know who her partner is going to be. That is something that I am concerned about. I don't know who her partner is going to be. You want to have some fun? How about you I don't know, swim some laps or something. I don't know, swim laps. Figure it out. Do something. I don't know. She's not supposed to socialize outside of her family, so I don't know who she's gonna end up dating if she doesn't have friends. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. Um, yeah, I'm trying to build a routine again. It's hard going from like just like doing stuff whenever you feel appropriate to just like forcing yourself to do things. Still, it's a hard leap, but once you do it, I know this for a fact because I've done it before. But once you do it, it becomes easier. It becomes the normal for you. So what is this? Skill up from being ambitious. Say less, queen. Say less. We're gonna upgrade this bad boy. Oh, never mind. We don't have any money. Let's go explore space. Never mind. I'm broke. Let's go. Let's go to space. You want to have some fun? Let's have some fun. Oh yeah, I was saying she should marry an alien. Yeah, obviously. Obviously. Likes fitness? Sure, queen. Sure. Whatever you say, darling. Whatever you say, Safi. Um, up and away to infinity and be. Oh, peekaboo, where are you? Saffron stares down the formidable tower on a red planet. The cosmic relief dog pound isn't just a fable; it's real. Saffron is searching for Mrs. Fuzin's prized Pukapu, a rare breed of space dog that could bring big bucks on the black market. It will bring big bucks to Saffron too if she brings it home unscathed. What in the world? Obviously, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that for me. I'm trying to tell me that. Like, I'm trying to remind myself that, like, hey, you can do it. It's a big Marvin the Martian. Oh, is that what that is? I felt like it would have been a reference to something, but I've never seen Marvin the Martian. So, the closest I got to Marvin the Martian is a reference in Young Justice about Marvin the Martian from Looney Tunes. Yeah, I've never seen that one. I mean, I probably have, because he's the one with like the helmet, right? And that you can't really see his face, the one with the helmet. But I don't remember anything about it. I'm not old enough. Saffron packs her rocket ship and goes into the pound. The alien at the front desk raises an eye and she walks in. Jobs filled, she says. Saffron can explain about the missing dog or make an excuse to look around. Disclose mission, make an excuse. Yeah, nice. Okay. I remember seeing it, but I was too young to like. I don't know what I was watching. I just remember what the character looks like, but I don't remember what it was. Um, that's cool. Maybe we should watch that. Why not? Because I've been thinking about watching old shows like Invader Zim and stuff like that. So why not? Why we need to look at the classics. Okay, we need to rewatch our roots. We need to remember where we came from. Okay. Disclose mission. I'm making an excuse. Does she have enough charisma to make an excuse? I mean, she's pretty smart. I do want to disclose mission. I feel like I should disclose mission. Don't kick me out. Invader Zim was the shit. Yeah, I love Invader Zim. I love Invader Zim. I get like, cause I feel like there were some times when I was watching Invader Zim, I was like, did he just swear? But like, I couldn't confirm it because there was like no like captions and stuff like that. I was like, oh, it sounded like he said a swear word. But then watching, like, looking at like the memes and stuff of Invader Zim now, it's like they were swearing. They were, and I just found it to be so hilarious. I was like, that sounds like a bad word. I'm misreading something. Is this like an accent thing? Like, does this mean something that I don't think it means? Like, nope. They're just saying it, which was amazing. Saf waits for the alien to search her computer for record of Fitz the Pukabu. Free Palestine, free Palestine. Death to imperialism, death to colonialism. Hey, what up, Barry? How's it going? How is everything? How's it hanging? How's life? How's love? Apparently nothing comes up. The alien hands back the photo and claims to have dogs to feed, but she doesn't get up. Saffron notices a small red leash, much like Fitz's photo, sticking out of the box under the desk. Investigate cages. Confront her. I mean, we've been pretty straightforward so far. Let's do it. Let's do it. Why not? Why the heck not? Why the hell not? But yeah. It's death to infurious. Ooh, I shouldn't say that. Not on Twitch. Ooh. I can't say that. Ooh. In a video game. Anyway. After double checking Fitz's photo in the ladies' room, Saffron asks the alien about the leash. Flustered, the alien begins to swell and turn yellow, but insists that it came from a solar cat they had recently captured. Just then, Saffron hears a whimper from beneath the desk. Does she make a grab for the animal or wait for an explanation? Man, grab it. I'm talking about allegedly. Allegedly! Delete the VOD! Delete! Nobody see anything. Nobody, we didn't say anything. Help! I feel Jeff Bezos just breathing down my neck. Oh god. It's Fitz! Before the alien can stop her, Saf is out of the door with the surprise pooch and on the way to collect her reward. A quick call to Galactic Rangers on the way should take care of the pound's illegal animal trade. Return with the pooch. So, do I have a dog or what? Do I just have a dog? Call the Rangers from Rocket Ship Exploration. Nothing brightens the day more than foiling the average neighborhood galactic animal trade. Nice. I thought we were going to end up selling the dog to the black market, but we're actually saving the dog from being sold to the black market. I guess. Or is it a Men in Black pen when you need it? Dude, I actually rewatched Men in Black. It's so good. Like I thought it was good before. And like, oh, like the CGI is kind of weird, but actually like a really good movie. But man, I wasn't it's so weird. Like I was so like I could like read the like the messages behind like cartoons and like anime and stuff like that. But for some reason when it came to live action stuff, I just wasn't really like getting the picture for a lot of things. Like yeah, I got the message, but like there were other messages that I wasn't getting. Dude, I rewatched Men in Black and it was such a good message. It was so good about like, opening yourself up to people and like Kristen Cooper. Sorry, I thought it was a dog. um, like exploring new things and like getting like a new lease on life and like stuff like that. It's just so beautiful. Ah, that's loud. Hey, nice, nice, nice. We gotta do it one more time. Hope you're not bored. Let's do it again. Let's go. Go, 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 go. I know that's a welcome wagon, but we're not supposed to socialize with people. We're not supposed to. Philip Gilmore, congrats on a recent birthday. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. No wonder I like Saf. She's a Gemini. Obviously, obviously. um, yeah, Men in Black is absolutely fantastic. It's such a good movie. I haven't. I think it's like Men in Black and Men in Black 2 that are good. I'm not. I can't remember if Men in Black 3 is good. I know that all of the older ones are not good. Like the newer ones, I guess, are not good. But like, I don't remember if the good one goes up to 2 or if it goes up to 3. I can't recall. Space Madness. Saf is suddenly feeling anxious and jumpy. There's a strange tingling sensation in her hands and feet, and she feels a little lightheaded. Should she have space madness? Could be something wrong with the airflow. Turn on fan high air. Swap CO2 scrubber. Ooh, yeah, swap the scrubber. Absolutely. Carbon monoxide poisoning is not cool. It's not fun. Oh, what is that? Mediocre life. Oh, baby. You're on a space adventure. If you don't get up, oh my god. Jesus, one step at a time. Positive grief coping. It's hard to completely ignore the pain, but through some small steps. Ah, I was reading that. How dare you? I'm feeling good. The fresh air really helped, and now she feels better. Staff actually had space madness. She started getting paranoid, making really terrible decisions. Now, how to spend a day in space? Spacewalk, erase all data. Obviously, I'm gonna spacewalk. Erase all data sounds insane. um, Feeling more optimistic with each day, perhaps with a new feeling can manifest expanded creativity. Aww, how sweet. Smell of adventure. Why? What? Safely returned. Hey, nice. Okay, now what? Now what? See, your bucket list is getting so high. Level 10 lodge skill. Fix or upgrade 5 objects. Okay. Alright. So here's what I'm gonna do. Cool? I didn't care for Men in Black 3. Okay, so 3 is the bad one then. Men in Black 2, I can't remember because I rewatched the first one. I can't remember the others. Which one is it? Gremlins that break stuff? Tiny goblins who come out at night and smash things. That's ridiculous. Nope, of course not. Of course not. But yeah, I can't remember. There's one movie that has a girl in it. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's Men in Black 2? Maybe, I don't remember. I know there's a girl in the first one, but I don't know if she becomes his partner in the second one because I haven't rewatched the second one. But we'll see. We'll see. Hunger. You need social? Too bad. What we're gonna do? We're gonna give us a bath. She says a real nice scrub. Let's take a bubble bath. You know what? Let's go with some soaks. You know what? Let's take a mud bath. Actually, no. Muscle relaxing citrus. Lavender can make you focused, I guess. I suppose. Become confident. Sure. Whatever, man. Whatever. Whatever you say, Queen. I'm here for you. Let me save, because I'm scared. You know what I really want to watch? Sinners. I heard it's great. And I can't believe this is a thing that I have to say, but I love the concept of original movies. Why do you have to remake everything? Why do you have to make sequels to everything? Please, capitalism breeds innovation. Get off it. Stop. Oh, this is guaranteed money. Stop it. Get some help, please. And speaking of remakes and stuff, Lilo and Stitch, pure propaganda, art under fascism. There's so many things that you could say. That like, oh, they're trying to entice locals to leave the island because they want to buy it up. Even though there's like one of the best like marine biology universities in Hawaii in the movie, what's her name, Nami or whatever, like the main big sister. She has to go leave her sister, her baby sister, to go to California when there's already a university in Hawaii. It's like, you can't, you're not convincing natives to leave. Please stop. Stop. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They don't help with like disaster relief and all these things so that they can buy up the land. You guys are so annoying. It's colonialism in a different way. It's literally just, instead of just shooting everybody or giving them smallpox or whatever, they're like, hey, how about you just get a little elsewhere. It's like, what is that? What are you talking about? What are you even talking about? Like, I was watching some sort of TikToks about like Eastern Europe and stuff, and like, dude, the monuments that they have are so gorgeous. Like, it would be just straight. It would be considered straight terrorism and propaganda if they were in America, of just like statues, like erected monuments of persons uniting and being like a community. They don't even have statues like that in America, I don't think. Like, if they had them, people would be like, "Oh my God, this is propaganda." I can't. Like, they defunded PBS. Like, it was a joke that, like, oh, sharing is caring. Is that gonna be illegal too? Yes. Madness. Madness. Actually, Zoomer's food delivery. Sure. I was gonna order pizza, but like, you know what? Let's have Ooh, clam chowder sounds cool. Yorkshire pudding. Ooh, full meat cottage pie. You know what? That sounds like something you would have. That sounds like something you would have. She's not vegetarian, but like, why not? Why the heck not? Um, yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Sequels, they can be great, but for the most part, cash grabs. The story doesn't make any sense. It just loses its essence. It just sucks, man. It really sucks. Um, so it's big unfortunate. I can't remember how this thing works. Do I have to be asleep for this thing to come up or what? You know what I miss? Since she has to do level 10 logic skill, you know what I miss? I miss the chess master thing in the Sims 3, where like if you reach level 10, you can like find other like chess masters and play chess against them, and then you can get all the way up to like chess grandmaster. Like, that's so fun. I wish they would do that again. Since they have like mastery perks and stuff like that, it would just expand the skills. Like, you play Sims for so long, it's like, yeah, you could get level 10 logic skill and like that's it. Like, you want to do something with it, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes you like somebody will like challenge you to like a chess match or something. Like, that would be fun. But you know that Lori Lewis has passed away. Sure, I'm not gonna lie, don't know who that is, but that's okay. That's all right. Around's death from losing an acquaintance, dude. She's not having a good time. She is straight up not having a good time. Like, it's ridiculous. When do you have work again? You have work tomorrow. Okay. Oh, you have to play chess. Say less, King. Say less. I need her to meet an alien because we need to get you to have a kid soon. Since we're on normal lifespan. Oh my gosh, how long do you actually have? I keep forgetting that this is normal lifespan. 13 days. Oi. Oi. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. Oh no. Oh dear. Yeah, we have to find an alien like today, like yesterday. Oh boy. All right, fine. I mean, her work doesn't start until 1, so it's fine. You can get some sleep. You can get some sleep. Um. Oh, I don't have any hampers. I was like, why is there so many clothes around the place? I don't have any hampers. That's why. That makes sense. But yeah. Um. Which movies actually have really good sequels? I know Men in Black has bad sequels. Pirates of the Caribbean has bad sequels. After the third movie, which first of all, speaking of original movies, Pirates of the Caribbean was absolutely iconic. Those movies are so freaking good. The first 3 are just peak, peak movies. Like, and like it makes you just like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm Jamaican, that like the whole Pirates of the Caribbean thing, they have a very good like Jamaican character. Rush Hour. That's right. Rush Hour has, wait. Rush Hour, I know Rush Hour 1 is good. I rewatched Rush Hour 1 this year. I haven't seen Rush Hour 2. Is Rush Hour 2 good? I heard that, I think Rush Hour 2 is like one of those that are like better than the first one. Am I dumb? Or am I lying? Am I lying? Am I capping? Am I a deceiver? I can't tell. Um, what's this? Stay on lot for 8 hours. Say less, queen. Level up logic skill. Don't say anything more. I got you, brother. I got you. Um, Rush Hour was great, by the way. You know what movie doesn't live up? I know this sounds crazy. You might, bring me to the stake. White Chicks. The second half of that movie is actually the second, like the okay, the first like 10 minutes is horrible. It's literally the most racist thing I have ever seen. The first 10 minutes of White Chicks is awful. The rest of it is great, but the first 10 minutes is terrible. Like, you can't laugh at that. It's awful. They're like really racist against, like, I guess, like, I think it was like Mexicans, or they're like Arabs. I can't remember. Some type of like brown. I know that sounds terrible, but like I can't remember. I think they were Mexican. I think so, or they're Arab. I can't remember. But they were so racist, and it's like, listen, I get it. Black people make jokes about like other races. That doesn't mean it's okay. Like, you can't just make fun of like East Asians. That doesn't make it cool. You can't just make fun of like Latinos. That doesn't make it right. You can't do that. Just because you're not the worst person doesn't mean that it's okay. Like, grieving, why me? Oh my god, every morning is a reminder of how unfair life can be. I know your mom's dead. I know, I'm sorry. I know your mom killed your dad and all of his mistresses, and then she killed herself. I know, I'm sorry. It was for the plot, okay? You're still, get over it. Oh, your mom shot herself. Get over it. That sounds terrible. That sounds so bad. I'm sorry. Crazy plot. I know. Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry. I'm here talking about how, like, oh, Rush Hour is so, you can't, not Rush Hour, Right Chicks, you can't make fun of stuff like that. And then I immediately say something like that. That's crazy. How could things be so bad for Saf? This world is so cruel and unforgiving. Oh, baby. It's still not fair. Who can Saf yell at to fix these existential problems? Oh my god. Is there grief counseling? How do I do this? She needs to talk to somebody. This is not sustainable at all. Video call, chat with, discuss interests, flirty, angry text, get to know, social event, planned funeral. How do I do it? Cupid's corner, vacation from astronaut, falling fake sick. Bro, help. How do I get her to get therapy? How do I get her therapy? I don't know why it's not working. Your attempt at character development is wild. I mean, I didn't expect her to attend grief counseling. Okay, it's in the house part. Okay. I didn't expect it to feel that bad. Enter. I'm streaming. What's going on? Huh? Morning. Hi, Dad. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't see anything else. I didn't see anything else. I don't see a shirt anywhere. Plot twist, there's no therapy for Sims. Imagine. They put all of this and they still have no therapy. Yeah, I'm happy though. I'm happy. My dad isn't here. I'm telling you, I didn't see it. So I don't know if he puts it in maybe the laundry. I don't know. Yeah, you can close the door, please. Thank you. Yay. I am happy though. I still am trying to get my save file for Life and Death from this and put it on my actual computer from my laptop to over here. With what you put them through, Lord knows they need it. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Alright, I need you to hurry up and do this. Actually, no. Go to grief counseling first. Because you would do better if you're focused. Yay, get dressed, please. Okay, good. I love her outfit. Saf is so cute. I love her so much. What a queen. I mean, hey, at least you have a nice house. Your parents might be dead, but at least they left you a nice house. Oh, God. There we go. There she is. Hey, and you have work soon. Starts in about 1 hour. Nice. Oh, there's a crying one. Processing emotions from grief counseling. Saf has a lot to consider. Grief counseling may be a great way to process emotions. However, time will tell how much more of this she can take. Too many Sims from crowded places. Oh, she went to therapy and she's like, there's too many people here. Girl, same. You go when there's like a bunch of people there. Ooh, this is what I came for therapy for. What do you mean? I'm the one who needs help. Why are you here? How dare you exist in the same place and time that I exist? Disgusting. Oh, these are so cute. I love life and death. The road ahead from living a fulfilled life. Soul's journey is going to be a long one, but Saf is in it for the long haul. It's for the first step of the road towards true satisfaction. Achievement Saf can now gain extra satisfaction points. Oh, I want her to be happy. I want her to be happy so bad. She really deserves it. She really does. This poor girl. Become focused. Soon, queen. Soon. You have work in 30 minutes. um, can you? Yeah, you go use the bathroom. You go cry on the toilet or something. I don't know. You'll figure it out. But yeah, the first part of White Chicks terrible. Um, movies that make jokes about racism that are good are like Rush Hour. Rush Hour is great. Even when Jackie Chan he like says the N word, but like it's done in like a tasteful way. I don't know how to describe it. It's just good, right? Um, work hard. Good, 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 good. Technician. Oh, you're a technician. Hmm. Ah, what is this? Oh God, what now? What now? From the other side, you don't know me, so this might sound weird. Inherit from me. Why you might ask? Let's just say it's better for the both of us. You don't ask question. Money needs to go somewhere and quick. Heard through the grapevine that you are a good upstanding sim. Inherits a chunk of hard-earned simoleons. Such a wholesome human. You can't get mad at Jackie Chan. I mean, he did disown his trans daughter, so like, I can be mad about that. But overall, he seems like a good person. I don't know, cause I know that Chuck Norris is like a big Republican, right? So like all of these like old like action movie stars, I don't know if they've aged well. um, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, isn't he weird? He did what? Yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. There was like there's an ad where they're advertising something I can't remember, and he hired someone to play his daughter because he doesn't acknowledge like his actual daughter. He's like, yeah, I don't have any kids. It's like straight up like out of the will, no money, no contact, literally doesn't like completely like actually disown. So that's fun. But like he is an older Chinese man. Like not like, like descendant, like an actual like grew up in China, Chinese movie star. So he's a little bit, well, yeah, it'd be like that, but like what are you gonna do? Listen, buddy, part of life is planning for your death. You should write a will when you're ready to choose inherit simoleons, your simoleons and your kids. Man and computer. Um, she did already inherit money, and she is having a hard time. That's complicated, yeah. It's really complicated, but I just hope she's happy and all that stuff. With yeah, I just hope she's doing well. Make a choice in your life. I sure did. She already inherited stuff. Like she literally like has a whole house for herself. So and she like she's having she's seeing her dad around the place. She's dealing with stuff. I feel like she's gonna say no. I feel like she would say no. So plus I don't want to have any money right now. mm. I know having to be at work and stuff is tough. It's tough. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. Um, I wonder if there's a thing that I can get. 1,600. I want the career thing where she can get promoted more frequently. But we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, movies that aged well, definitely Rush Hour. Um, hmm. Pirates of the Caribbean is great. The first three movies are great. Got 400 big ones. Nice. Let's pay our bills. Pay our automobiles. um, level up in logic skill. Stay unlocked for 8 hours. Skill up. Say less, queen. Say less. Nice. Let's go. Let's do it. Play. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Why are you embarrassed? Embarrassed at work? Sometimes a person can't help but make a fool of themselves. Aw. Did you trip? Did you trip at work? Made a fool of yourself in front of coworkers? Listen, it happens to all of us, okay? Oh, the ad break just finished. So thank you guys if you were able to see the ad. Of course you can support the stream, with subs and bits and Twitch Turbo and direct donuts and all that fun stuff. If you don't want ads, subs are cool. Every 5 subs, I'm gonna bring this back. I remember I used to every like 5 subs I would like take a dab of hot sauce. I think it was Tabasco because it tasted good. and I'm not like a fan of hot sauce. I have a new one that I've never tried. I think it's like pineapple or something like that. Which I think I'm just gonna bring that back. She's having a rough time. She is having a rough time. But you know, we're self-affirming, okay? We're gonna get through this. She's gonna adult and we're gonna do great. Alright? She doesn't have her mommy, which, you know, she loves her mommy. But, you know, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this. Oh god, this is tough. Jesus Christ. But yeah, movies that aged well, movies that didn't age well. Guys, what's your favorite movie? My favorite movie is The Prestige. Bookworm? Saffron has enjoyed being intellectual activities lately and desires to be a devoted bookworm. Sure. Why not? Honestly, you've never read a book, but sure. Doing chess makes you a bookworm? Why not? I have started talking to like some old friends and like one of my friends that like lives nearby, and I've been considering playing chess with them. Like we could just like go play chess. All the Paranormal Activity movies. Oh, I've never watched Paranormal Activity. I was a big scaredy cat, as I usually am. So Jeepers Creepers. I've never watched Jeepers Creepers. Never watched it. The only like Kiss of the Dragon Man. I've never watched that. I've never watched that. I usually watch action movies. I hate romance movies. I'm afraid of horror movies. I like watching action movies and like thought movies, like The Prestige, or like, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean. That like, you know, it was an action movie. Resident Evil, Dawn of the Dead. Dude, I was so afraid of zombies as a kid, right? And I was trying to build myself up, so I watched Shaun of the Dead, which was like a comedy like ripoff, and that scared me. Notice my trend? Oh yeah. um, and that comedy scared the hell out of me. Okay, and that's when around the time when I started watching The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead was scaring me. Shaun of the Dead was hilarious. It was absolutely fantastic. I rewatched it, obviously, like last month. It was mint, fucking mint. Shaun of the Dead is fantastic. What I need to watch those other movies. I think it's Hot Fuzz that comes out after Shaun of the Dead. I need to watch it. I've never watched it. I've only heard good things about it, and I think there's another one. I can't remember it. There's another one after Hot Fuzz or before Hot Fuzz. There's three of them. There's Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and another one. I need to watch those other two. But I tried watching Dawn of the Dead. When I tell you, the first like second of that movie, I was like, ah! I was so afraid. No dialogue, no nothing. I think it was like a pan of like the street, and just like the eeriness of it, I was like, get me out of here. I was so afraid. I've never watched Dawn of the Dead. Literally the first like frame, I was said absolutely not. This tone has been set. I'm not trying to do all that. There's no need. It's not necessary. No thanks. I think I've watched enough. I don't need to torture myself. I don't need to. Start a small business. We already did that one. Be funny in crowded places. Ooh. From high school level. No. We already played that. We already played that pack. We're not doing that right now. Go to bed. Go to sleep. Go to schlep. We got work in the morning. More lighthearted side. Marley and Me. 1,000 Words, The Darkest Minds. I Am Legend, Pursuit of Happiness. I've never watched I Am Legend. I love Pursuit of Happiness. Pursuit of Happiness made me cry. I've only watched it one time. I will never watch it again. I will never watch it again. What I did watch, I love Will Smith movies. Listen, people can say whatever they want about Will Smith, okay? First of all, Chris Rock deserved that slap. That's one thing I'm gonna say, okay? Second of all, what was I gonna say? Hold on, one second. Yeah, he makes great movies. I have never seen a bad Will Smith movie. Just straight up, never seen a bad Will Smith movie. So iRobot, fantastic, amazing actor. Literally, he's fantastic. The fact that it took him this long to get, what was it, an Oscar? Racism. It's just no. You can't tell me nothing. You tell me this guy has been acting his butt off since the 90s. He's been making music. How is this man not having EGOT? That's my question. Why does he not have an EGOT? He's an actor. He's a singer. He's in TV shows. He's in movies. Like, he produces stuff. Who have he become? What is this? Will Smith needs to be decorated. He needs to have awards thrown at him. He needs to have a knot by the end of it. What is this? What are we doing? Who are we as people to not recognize Will Smith? William Smithsonian. Disgusting. rude behavior that they would laugh in his face like that. Oh, he's not invited anymore. Man, God forbid somebody defends his estranged wife. God forbid somebody has an open relationship. Hello? What are we doing? Like, people act like monogamy is for everybody. It's not. It's for me. It's not for everybody. And that's okay. People, like, why are people acting like, oh, it's crazy. It's crazy that, like, yeah, he slept with somebody, I can't remember what her name is, but like, if his wife does it, oh, like, get out of these people's marriage, please. Like, he won't step in when somebody's being abused in their marriage. It's like, oh, it's their marriage, you know, whatever. It's like, you know, I don't want to interrupt. It's between those two. But when, like, they're when it's actually none of your business, oh, I can't believe it. Could never be me. Man, shut up. This man has two very successful children, very mindful children. First of all, you know what? You know what propaganda I'm not gonna fall for, okay? The Smith hatred, alright? Jada Pickett, Willow and Jaden, they're great people. But anyways, I ain't saying that, man. I think it's because he laughed first and got serious. Because he kept doubling it down. And he realized that his wife was upset. That's the thing. Like, of course, everybody laughs at jokes at like award shows and stuff, even when like you're not like exactly happy about it. You're still supposed to laugh because it shows up. Like they'll pan the camera at you, whatever. It's like, oh my god, is there beef between these two? I can't believe they didn't laugh. Right? Where are you going, ma'am? Is there a reason why you're going all the way over there? Can you explain that to me? Please stop. Where are we going? If that's not greatness, I don't know what it is. Literally, where are you? Whoa. Guys, I think my sim is broken. Where'd she go? Where is she? Okay, let me just go ahead and reset you because you're gonna walk off the map, queen. I have never seen that before. Reset. Thank you. Where you at? Thank you. As you should be. He saw wife, wasn't happy, and then said, yeah, exactly. Because it's something that she's not happy about, something that she's insecure about. They've talked to this guy about this before, because I think he's made jokes about her before. And they talked to him about it before. And then he did the first one, and they were like, okay, whatever. And then he kept going, and it's like, oh, so this is just what we're gonna do. Ginger Washington has a great actor too. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there was a movie with Denzel. What was it? Like Unbreakable or something like that? It was a fantastic movie. It was like some prison break something. He was like a lawyer or something, some politician, something. It was fantastic. That was fantastic. I hate when people get typecasted. Like, I want to see like Samuel Jackson like do like a musical. You know what I mean? Like, because you have to remember, at the end of the day, a lot of these people are like, they're like what's it called? They're theater nerds. They're theater nerds, okay? Yeah, they look, a lot of main people look law-abiding citizen. Law-abiding citizen, listen, when I was in my movie bag, I watched Law-Abiding Citizen and Unthinkable, or like I think it's Unthinkable, where like, I think it was it Samuel Jackson? Where like he had to torture a terrorist for the entire movie. The entire movie. It was just him in this white room, just different ways of torturing this man, and the whole time you're like, I don't know if he's actually the guy. I don't know if he's not the guy. I don't know if he's the guy. And there's a big plot twist at the end. Man, I watched those two movies back to back. They were magnificent. They're so underrated. I've never heard anybody talk about Law Abiding Citizen. It's such a good movie. Law Abiding Citizen is such a good movie. It's so good. Oh, you see what I mean? They don't make movies like this anymore. They don't make movies like this anymore. It's just remake. It's such and such 3 and 6. Like, I don't need a reboot, trilogy, a prequel. I don't need it. Give me fresh stuff. Give me new things. I need more of that. I need more of this. Please, I don't want to see Taken 12. Please. Both are justifiable in their own way. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. You see, if they made those movies today, it would be like some kind of like crazy propaganda, right? Because obviously torture does not work. Cool. So you knowing that like torture doesn't work, and that like you see this guy, you know, like he's with his family and everything, you know, all he wants to do is see his wife, and they're doing these terrible things to him, and the whole time you're like, you don't know who is right. You don't know. It's like, oh, this is terrible. This is horrible. You have no proof that this guy has done anything, right? And it's just so terrible. right? And like there this whole time, and like if you release that movie today, people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, like, they're putting this propaganda. There's no way that like an Arab would have, a loving, beautiful family and be like a stand-up citizen. Like you wouldn't think that. The whole movie is like, oh, this is wrong. Get Out, Us, those are good too. Get Out is a good movie. I never watched Us, but Get Out is a great movie. I do wish it wasn't so on the nose, but I wish it was a little bit more like subtle. Seeing like, oh yes, with our brains and your body, we'd be magnificent. And it's like, obviously, as Black people, we've heard these things before, right? But like, I feel like a lot of like non-Black persons are like, oh my God, that's a little wild, isn't it? And it's like, yeah, that's what people say. They're like, hey, Black people have like the body, and like the white people have the brains, and like together, we'd make the perfect human being or whatever. It's like, oh, that's why Black people should be like under like the supervision of like white people, because like we just do it better. We just think better. You know how it is. It's just obviously we've heard these things before, right? We've heard these things before. It's just, where am I gonna put my pizza? Boy, what the? There's no way I don't have a surface to put my pizza. Hello, my pizza. But so yeah, I wish it was like a little bit more subtle for persons who like aren't aware of stuff like that, because it sounds crazy. People who've never experienced stuff like that before, never heard stuff like that before. But yeah, us. Get Out is a great movie. I haven't watched the rest of them. Us, I've never watched it. Isn't there a third movie that he did? No. Same dude from Key and Peele's Icing on the Cake. Yeah, that's fantastic. What happened to the other one? The other Key and Peele. What happened to him? Is he around? Is he good? Is he all right? I haven't heard from him. Is he like a producer in the movies? Are they still friends? Did they have a falling out? I don't remember. Not just funny, dude. I'd really want to. There is, but I don't remember the name of it. Yeah, exactly. I know there's a third one. There's Us. Is it them? I can't remember. There's Get Out. There's Us. But I saw that too. Yeah, I want to see the one with Kiki Palmer. That's is that Us? That's the one with Lupita. Is that Us? I can't remember. I don't remember. um, damn. But yeah, those movies are absolutely fantastic. It's so good. I feel like people have just lost a lot of nuance these days. It sucks. Everybody is like, I want everything that is extremely racist. How dare you have a main character that's not a straight, white, able bodied man, Christian man? How dare you? It's like, what are we doing right now? Just the existence of anybody who's not straight, white, American, Christian man is upsetting to you? Like, everybody's just so mask off now. It's like, I knew that Americans are racist, but Jesus Christ. People are just running around and just doing it now. I mean, I knew it, but goddamn. And listen, I don't want to say I told you so, okay? It was called Nope. There it is. There it is. It was Nope. Right. I knew it was one word. I knew it was one word. Close enough. Do we still have work today? We should. Yeah, working 3 hours. Okay. Let's have a family party. Let's have a family party since it's Harvest Fest. Since it's Indigenous Day, let's go say hello. Plan funeral, plan a social event. Bam. Um, but yeah, the persons who are like, speaking of like, propaganda and stuff nowadays, the people who are like, oh, I don't like rainbow stuff during Pride. I'm not that gay. It's like, oh, anybody who goes to Pride or anybody who actually wears flags is so cringe. I bet they're gonna wear the colors now. Those same people who are like, oh, corporate Pride is so cringe. I bet you'd be begging for Target to put their stuff in there now. I bet you're begging now. Like, people are so just, like, yeah, obviously, no cops at Pride, no politicians at Pride, obviously, because it's a protest, obviously, we know this. Just being like, hey, just being like, oh, I can't believe you're wearing your colors. Ugh, gross. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. How dare people be more gay than you? Shut up. Shut up. Please shut up. You guys are so freaking annoying. So annoying. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate people who are just so pick me. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm black but not that black. Oh, I'm gay but not that gay. Oh, I'm Muslim but not that Muslim. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I'm not inviting Poppy. Ew, gross. God, people are just so freaking annoying. Ugh. I know that I have siblings. I know I have an ESO that's a sibling. I can't remember. I just think like freedom of speech isn't always the best. I mean, God, I mean, obviously freedom of speech is good. It's just people think that they shouldn't get repercussions for it, and that's stupid. Like, people have politicians calling people the T word and stuff like that, and saying that people should die and stuff like that. What happened to the guillotine? What happened to the stones? Where they at? What happened? Oh, we aren't our ancestors. Are you sure about that? Because the ancestor would have done something. Such a double-edged sword. I mean, I think overall it's a great thing. I feel like people should just be able to defend themselves. People are just listen. All of the people who protested at Ferguson, they're all dead. Surprisingly so. You know, who would have thunk it? They're all dead. Donald Trump killed all of them. Okay, just mysteriously found, shot in a car. It's like, oh, it's a suicide. How? How? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. For those of you who are new here, we like to talk about politics here, by the way, and like mental health stuff. So, yeah. Take photos, call to meal. Sure. Talk about family. Sure. How do I do that? How do I thank you for coming? Hobbies, small talk. How do I thank you? Get to know. Harvest best spirit. Thank you for coming. There we go. Oh God, can I call you to this meal? Oh my God, I can. I was joking. I can actually call them to the pizza as a meal. That's great. But yeah, freedom of speech is great. It's just a lot of the big protesters from like the Ferguson stuff, from like Black Lives Matter, they're all dead. So a lot of people now are like, yeah, I want to protest stuff, but like, I don't want to die. And it's like that's how fascism starts, guys. I mean, there's more of us than there are of them. I mean, I went to a protest recently, knowing that like Jamaica is not like the best place, you know, thinking that like, you know, there was like 200 cops there. I was very uncomfortable the entire time. People were like approaching us and like yelling at us and stuff like that, and it was not comfortable. We did it. We did it. It was peaceful, and we were able to get our point across. It got in the news, and things things are being discussed. Things haven't changed, but they are being discussed. Like that's all we need. Like, oh, I'm scared of like getting arrested. Yeah, that's how they get you. I mean, listen. I know I don't want to say this. Obviously, everybody's life is important. They can't get all of us. They can't get us all. So like, do with that information what you will. Like, yes, we should be allowed to say how we feel, but it opens up the other side. People truly speak what they should feel. Yeah, here's the thing. We shouldn't take away freedom of speech. What we should do is we need more education. We need more education. These people are like, they're stuck in their own bubble. Either they live in the middle of nowhere and they don't have a lot of education, or they go to like these private schools where like they only are taught like what the parents want them to learn. You know what I mean? Um, there are people. Did you just steal my? Did you see that? He stole my picture. My half brother. Our first time meeting. I bring you over into the fold, and you steal from me? That's how you know he's from dad's side. That's how you know he ain't nothing. I just saw you, you smug-faced bastard. I saw you steal from me. How do I get rid of you? How do I get you out? How do I kick you out? Get out of my house. Get out of my house. I am trying to lash out. Literally. I am trying to be a good person, okay? Yeah, we saw you steal that. Thief. Thief. Lifestyle gained. Them again from giving aliens bubbling up. Impossible to get them off the hook without giving them a piece of her mind. Yeah. How dare you remind me of my father? You're like Papa. You're just like Papa. Yeah, we need to, people need to be more, there needs to be more diversity. People need to be more educated and stuff like that. It's so freaking stupid. Other day, this customer made a comment about how he thought this female was a dude, and my cashier was all mad saying that he's wrong for saying that. Yeah, because he is wrong for saying that. Because, like, that's the thing. People don't know what women look like. Straight up. If you ask the average male what a middle-aged woman look like, they're not gonna know what they look like. They're not gonna know. And it's ridiculous. Dislikes violin. I don't care what you like. Get out of my house. Get on my. How do I take pictures with you guys? I want to take pictures with my family, and I'll replace it. Um, why do you keep wanting to go to bed? Oh, you're not that tired. Get up. Get off it, would you? Gilmore. Yeah, let's do it. Um, I didn't hear it initially, so I started to do. I dabbed him up, and the cashier was like, don't do that because customer he made. Um, it was distasteful comment. He spoke his mind. Yeah, that it's not good. Just because that's the thing. He said what he said, and you can say that what he said was wrong. Easy, easy. Like you can't say, oh, he spoke his mind. That doesn't mean it's a good thing. That doesn't mean it's a good thing. Like a lot of people are upset with like leftists because they think, oh, I don't want to fake being a good person. It's like, no, it's not a, you don't fake being a good person. You just be a good person. When it's like, oh, at least I speak my mind, you're not supposed to have that on your mind. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Was it wrong? It's his opinion. That's not a good opinion. That's my opinion is that he has a bad opinion. And I can have that opinion as well. I can have the opinion that he has a bad opinion. There's not like you're saying that, oh, you have freedom of speech, like whatever. The cashier, their coworker can also say, hey, what you said is wrong. That's also their opinion. So you can't say, hey, they can't say that. They can't say, oh, you shouldn't like talk to them or whatever. You can't say that. They can't say that because the other person is doing their opinion. Like everybody in this situation is doing their opinion. Like that's how it is. Everybody's doing their opinion. Like women come in all different shapes and sizes. Some people are tall. Like you would look at a woman and swear to God that she has more testosterone than you do, and you do the test, and they're in the average range. They're in the average range. Like Brittany Griner, she has a very deep voice. She's not trans, never done HRT, none of that. She is in the estrogen, testosterone range for the average woman. She just is big and just has a deep voice. She's just built different. If she was a guy, she would be like Shaq height and muscle. She would be absolutely gigantic. But she's not. She's a girl, and this is how she looks now. She's always had a deep voice, and she's always looked like that. She's doesn't like isn't like it's not anything crazy, right? And that's just how like she is factually not any more of a guy than anybody else, literally. There's no like opinion on it. Like she has the same like estrogen testosterone like ratio like range as every other lady. So you can't just say, oh, I feel like, well, you're wrong. You're wrong. Like you're wrong. If she was a guy, she would look completely different. She would be like 9 feet tall. Oh my God, Hawkward, hi. How are you? Hey, what up? What up? What up? What up? Hi. We're talking about free speech today. Love talking about politics and stuff on my birthday. But hi, how are you? How was your stream? How was the stream? How'd it go, guys? If you don't follow Hawkward, this is not their second time rating me. They're absolutely awesome. Happy birthday! Thank you. Somebody told me I've been born. So it's time to celebrate. Technically, my birthday was on Friday, but I didn't feel like streaming on Friday because I had work. And I had work yesterday. So we're here. But thank you so much. Thank you for the raid. I really appreciate that. How was your stream? How'd it go? What'd you do? All that fun stuff. Guys, go say hi. Go say hi to Hawkward. They're fun. They're nice. We like them. Go say hello. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Go say hi. But hey, how's it going? How is everything? How's your stream? If you have to do like de-stress after stream, you know, get your water, go pee and all of that, stretch your legs, that's totally fine. But seriously, thank you guys so much for the raid. I should introduce myself. Oh my God. I should. 1 second. Hi guys. I'm Nina. Jamaican. Like to play The Sims, Sims 4, Sims 2. We do a lot of Stardew and stuff like that, story-based games and all that. We like to talk about politics, and mental health stuff. So if that's not your vibe, I totally understand. If it is your vibe, welcome. Hi, it's my birthday. I'm 28. Technically, it was my birthday on Friday, but I couldn't stream on Friday, so I'm 28. Sim killer. I'm not a sim killer. It's an accident, okay? Sometimes things happen, okay? Life happens. Don't call me that. It was my first one back after surgery. I'm still really tired, but feeling well. That's fun. I'm happy your surgery went well. I'm happy your first time back went well. What did you play? How'd it go? I can't believe you guys teamed up against me in my own stream. It's my stream. I'm being bombarded. I'm being attacked, assailed even. In my own stream, in my own house. Will somebody defend me? Where is the devil's advocate when you need them? Somebody advocate for me. um, but yeah, I hope it went well. I hope everything's good. Mm. So, so what if I'm a Slytherin? Jesus, we shouldn't team up anyway. But we could. I mean, we're here. What do you mean? Ah, whatever. Jesus, you're just against me. You're just against me. Jesus, God. Anyway, but yeah. Overall, free speech is great. Somebody saying terrible things is free speech, and somebody saying that what you said is terrible is also free speech. So saying that, hey, you can't be mad at this guy for saying something doesn't really work because that person is also saying something. So, and this thing is, as human beings, as social animals, words do matter. People are like, oh, they just said something else, whatever. As social animals, words do matter. It's not like, oh, you wish it wasn't. No, 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 no. The way that we perceive each other, the way that we address each other, the way we speak about each other matters as a social species. So people keep joking about how such demographic is terrible. People are going to start feeling like such demographic is terrible. The human brain can't dictate what is real or not if you're like watching it on TV or like, you know, watching all that stuff. They're like, oh, this celebrity is my best friend because I'm always seeing them, always hearing them talk. So this person is my bestie, even though you've never actually met them before. That's how your brain works. These things matter. I was playing Forspoken again. We're about 3/4 of the way through. I think nice. I'll definitely hold on. I don't think I did before, but hold on 1 second. 1 second. Let me drop you a follow. Hey, nice. Nice. I don't know why. Huh. I don't know why I thought you were a guy this whole time. I don't know why. The Hawkwood it just felt like a guy's name. Huh. I'm really sorry if I misgendered you at all. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. This is my first time actually seeing like your profile picture. Huh. I feel like I've said that before. Am I getting deja vu? I feel like I said that before. To mention how girls dress and do so. I mean, yeah, guyish. Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. I get that. I didn't see the person he was talking about, so I don't know how accurate the comment was. It doesn't matter if it's accurate or not. It can't be, because everybody looks different. We all look different. You can't say, oh, this person looks like such and such. Well, they're not. So now what? What does it matter if somebody looks like something if they're not? What does it matter? Jesus. It's like saying, hey, that black guy with the hoodie looks like a criminal. Well, they're not. So now what? Now what? Now where do we go from here? Now what? Because it's not true. So now what? What? Sorry. We're in the middle of talking about politics. I'm sorry, Huck. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. Oi. But yeah. We're actually playing Not So Berry. We're at Yellow Gin. I invited my half brother over. We're meeting for the first time, and he stole the painting out of my house. That's what you get for inviting people over from your dad's side. So the dad who we used extreme violence on the mod. So they're all dead. All good with me. Well, good politics. Yeah, good politics is good politics. That's good. But yeah. It's tough. I try not to, because I know that it can be like off-putting for a lot of people. The first thing you come in and I'm just like, you know, down with imperialism, you know what I mean? Like I try not to, but there's gonna be a time, there will be at least one section of a stream where I'm just talking about the world. You can go out of your way to look or fall under perceived social norms. I mean, yeah, like look at me. I want to be perceived as a goth. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, you look like you eat children, I'm gonna be like, hey, that says a lot about what you've been exposed to, but I do not eat children. So now what? Now what? Like, it's like, yeah, okay. There are times when like I want to dress a certain way, okay. I want to like wear like a big shirt. The children eater. Oh my gosh. But there are times when like I want to like look a little bit more masculine, right? Literally, somebody was like, "Oh, I thought you were a guy," and I was like, "Oh, thank you." But like, if I told him I was like, "Oh, well, I'm not," then like, where do we go from here? Don't get me wrong. You can have your initial like perceptions about somebody. It's cool. You see somebody and it's like, "Oh, I thought such and such," but turns out they're not. You see how that works? We can just move on from that. You see how that works? There's no big deal. But people are like, hey, my knee jerk reaction was to think that you were a man, and so that's how I'm gonna work. It's like, what is wrong with you? They're not. So now where do we go from here? You're just gonna stick on that? You're just gonna sit on that? This is the hill you're gonna die on? This is the hill you're gonna die on. Children eater, I'm learning a lot about you today. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. He's a liar. He's sent to be against me. I don't know. God, it's late. Oh Jesus, it's late. Okay, hold on. I need to go to work. I don't have long lifespan. I can't miss work. Go to 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 work. Please. Please. Host pride. Oh, you felt good. Oh, that's great. Let's go get promoted at work. A liar. A liar. You're not a truther. I'm not saying you're a truther. Yeah. How could you I have never once murdered a child. Gotta go self-care stuff and have a good stream. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you again for the raid. Guys, if you haven't followed Hawkward, you definitely should. They're so awesome. Celebrate them, getting back from the surgery, having their first stream back. It's fun. Go say hi. Or else. Or else you're never allowed back here again. You'll never watch streams in this city ever again. If you don't go follow them. Jesus. Actually, don't know if that's true. I mean, I can't kill children in The Sims. It's just not physically possible. So I don't think I've murdered a child, but I don't know if I would if I could. I don't think I would. Finish a task earlier than she would. Research art. Research art. Why not? Performance gain small. Nice. Entrepreneur skill. What? No, wait. We're gonna get promoted today. Nice. Second day on the job. We're late for work and we're getting promoted. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. You might have had a kid accidentally die. I think in The Sims 3, I might have put some Sims away if my Sims ended up having too many children. But like that doesn't count. I mean, what Simmer hasn't? Like, come on. Or at least get to take him away. Yeah, but they're not dead. They're just lost in the system. You know what I mean? They're not dead. Come on. They're not dead. They'll be fine. Ow. It's so extra. It's fine. Oh, I should decorate. Where's my decorating? Where's my decor? Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. Completely forgot. Lost in the system. Yeah, cause like I think before, I don't think it happens anymore. Because I think they updated it. But where is it? Decoration box. Attic. Is that it? Is that what it's called? I've actually never read the. Oh wow. The attic stack decoration box. I've actually never read the entire title for that. That's wild. But yeah, when kids got taken away, they would like disappear from your family tree. Like they would delete the sim. You can't talk to them. You can't see them age up. You can't do anything. They're just gone. They just disappear. So the sim would no longer exist. But they don't do that anymore. So yeah, put up decor. Yeah. Oh, look at the house. Oh, it's such a beautiful house. It's kind of cluttered, but it's a great house. Big fan, big fan. Okay. Yeah, it's bedtime. It's bedtime. It's bedtime. So you're. Oh wait, are you a technician now? Oh, level 3. Why does it still say technician? Am I dumb? What the heck? Why does it still say technician? Might as well be dead. Hey man, I'm not the one who did it. Hey. Oh, sure, you're an astronaut. Wait, how did you get to level 3? Hold on a second. You were just at level 1. Wait a minute. I think I was just a glorified mechanic. The shuttle costs billions. Next promotion, command center lead. Why does it still say 59 an hour? Am I dumb? It says technician, but it says astronaut 3 over here. Am I dumb? What's going on? What is happening? Where? What? Okay, whatever. I'm pretty sure she just got promoted. Oh, whatever. Hey, everything broke. Nice. I can fix them now. Thank God. Something malicious happened during the night and objects may appear broken. Have 10 objects broken on a Sims lot. Nice. Let's do it. After you wake up. We got plenty of stuff to do after you wake up. But prepare. Ooh, personality change. Has not been able to cope with grief in the most productive ways, resulting in personality trait change. What? From ambitious to lazy? No. Oh my god, guys, should I do it? Oh my god, stop! I'm gonna cry. No, I love her so much. She's having a really hard time. Do we have to go to grief counseling again? Don't do this to me. Do I have to do it, guys? Do I have to do it? Oh my god. she'll get it back. She'll get it back. She'll get it back. It's a Canada event. I know. She's sleeping a lot. Oh god. Mental fog from starting burnout. No. Lost in the family from losing somebody close. Oh my god. Promotion anxiety from lack of promotion. Ambitious seems feel pressure to keep climbing corporate ladder. Didn't you just get promoted? Help. Acceptance is a part of that process. They say time heals all wounds. Weight lifted off shoulders. Wounds have started repairing. These might lingering effects on staff. Latest feelings of grief that would arise at any time. Oh my god. This is too real. This is too real, man. This hurts. This hurts. I'm not happy. I'm not happy about this at all. Jesus Christ. Did everything break? Oh god. I hope it wasn't everything. Jesus Christ. That would be a... Oh god. Everything... Oh Jesus. Oh, it's gonna be a long day. Oh, it's gonna be a long day. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Freedom of speech, great and everything, and all that, all that fun stuff. We come to our conclusion. That's fine. We're gonna try to go to grief counseling again, cause man, I want my traits back. I want my stuff back. Are we sure this is still The Sims? Why that? Yeah, the life and death is amazing, dude. That's actually iconic. Life and Death is amazing. An amazing pack. I haven't even finished playing it yet. I still have my save file that I need to transfer over. But man, it's such a good pack. Oh my god, man. I know that a lot of people say, oh, your first pack should definitely be pigeonholed. Focus mental skill into a master's perk. She continues, she'll build mental skill faster but harder with other stuff. Sure. Seems like Saf. Seems like Saf. But yeah, a lot of people say that you should get like seasons as your first pack because oh, it completely changed the gameplay. You get holidays and you know you get the seasons and stuff like that. I think the first pack you should get, okay, maybe not the first pack, but like one of the first pack you should get should definitely be what's it called? Life and Death. Life and Death is definitely top 5. Definitely top 5 and it's not the 5th one. I can tell you that right now. Oh my god. Oh, because there's a freaking gnome here. Get out of my house. Get out of my house. There's a damn gnome in my house. Get out of my house. Jesus Christ. I was like, why can't I do this? Gee, I wonder why. Because it's a guy in my house. Why would a man be there? Why would a man be there? Hello? Ew, gross. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Is my water heater busted? No! Oh, my God. They broke my water heater. Okay, I mean, you're one of the girls. Okay, you're one of the girls. All right, it's fine. You don't count. Not nice. But why is my stove on fire? Help! My pizza's spoiled. Oh god. Okay, I'm gonna have cause I can't reach these. So I'm just gonna have to replace it. Oh god, I have $150 left. See karma? It's not karma. I don't need karma. I'm a good person. Why would I have never done a bad thing in my life, okay? I have never, not one bad thing. This went real bad really fast, yeah. Yeah, I put the trait on without knowing just how many things were broken. How fun. How nice. I fixed 5 objects. Yeah, of course. I need to achieve level 10 logic skill. I also need to go into that one place in Oasis Springs. I've never gone there before because I was waiting on this. But yeah, we'll do it. Jesus, I didn't realize how many stuff were broke for in here. I have so many appliances. I didn't think it would break everything. God damn. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Okay, because we don't need this to happen again. We don't need this to happen again. So I'm gonna remove the lot trait. Usually I have it in like if I'm doing like rags to riches. If I have stuff, I'm just gonna either get a repairman or stuff like that because I want things to happen to take my Sims money away. But first of all, I don't have any money. Second of all, there's too many things in this house. So yeah. And now I have mold. I got mold on my floor. Give me a break. It's my birthday. How could they do this to me on my birthday? The day of my birth, my celebratory Earth Strong my solar cycle. How could you? Obviously, this is a personal vendetta against me specifically. Clearly, they're doing this specifically because it's me. Obviously. Okay, we have work again today. Hopefully we can actually get promoted. Did we not get promoted? Like, maybe not. I don't know. All right, let's get to fixing. Let's get to fixing. Mm. Repair, please. Toxic mold. I know. Everything is leaking. I got mold in my house. Help. Help. Oh, God. Obviously. Certainly. This is all about me. Okay. What do you want? What is this? Upgrade an object. Okay. Well, might be a bit hard. God, this is overstimulating. Jesus Christ. But, yeah. What's my plans for today? Oh, yeah. We're visiting Grandma. We're visiting Gma. Grandma has a birthday the day before mine. Her birthday is on the 29th. So we're gonna go visit her. We're gonna go say hi. My brother visited her already, but we're gonna go like as a group to say hello to Grandma. Ideally, when we purchase a house, we would have enough space for her to move in because we don't really like where she lives, and her and my uncle, we don't really like where they live. So we're gonna try to get a place that has enough space, or if we don't have enough space, we'll just like try to expand at some point. I don't know. Oh Jesus, don't die. God, please, you already died. Please don't, no, stop. For those of you who don't know, she's already died. So let's not do this. Let's have a second. Once have a breakdown, play The Sims, and just watch the chaos. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's so fun. I do really love The Sims because things just be happening. Sometimes things just happen, and you know what? You love to see it. Okay, you want to level up your fitness skill. Cool. Let's go on another swim. Let's swim laps. I gotta use this thing somehow. I gotta use this thing. What I need, I'm gonna put these bad boys in the hamper. Please and thank you. All of my astronaut clothes just taking up space outside. Jesus, I wonder what that smells like. Space gunk. I mean, I guess there wouldn't be really like bacteria in space. I mean, I guess you would take the bacteria from Earth out into space and then back onto Earth. Have you tried that other sim-like game? Inzoi? No, I've never tried it. I heard they are pro-Israel, so, and they use AI. So that's not fun. Pay your artists, kids. Here's the thing: nobody would have an issue with AI if the stuff that were generated from AI would pay the people where they source the information from. Literally, like I can't remember what it was, but like somebody was like, "Hey, if we did that, then our business wouldn't be feasible." It's like, yeah, exactly. You don't want to pay people, dummy. Like, what the heck? Yeah. So the AI takes stuff from like the internet, right, and gives you your prompt, right? If you pay a subscription to this service, to this AI service, right, ChatGPT or whatever, right, that money, a portion of that money, should be going to where the art is actually like being pulled from. Nobody would be mad about AI if people were getting paid for it. Literally, where like you can have like a system where like if you do art, you can like opt in, and then like they'll source from that and then pay the people, right? But they're like, oh, we can't pay these guys. It wouldn't make any sense because they run like 60 computers, run these things all at once, and it's terrible for the environment. So not only it's expensive for you to like run all these computers to do all this stuff, but you aren't able to like pay the people who you're actually generating the stuff from. Like it's just dumb. You're paying for a subscription of somebody else's stolen work. Like, why am I paying you to steal from somebody from like what? It's so dumb. It's so annoying. But yeah. Pay your artists, kids. Nobody would be mad at AI and like robots taking over and stuff if you actually paid people. So here's the thing, because the future is supposed to be like, oh, all these businesses, they have like the hard stuff, they have the medium labor being done by robots and like AI, and then everybody gets like a stipend, like what's it called, where it's like not unemployment, but everybody gets like a certain amount. It's like, hey, the country made this much money this quarter, so here's how much money you guys are gonna get paid every month. Literally, literally, instead of big businesses pocketing it and like being like, oh well, yeah, nobody is working, but also nobody, like, these people are making money, but also nobody's getting paid, but also like it's just ridiculous. Read blogs for career advice. Performance gain, yay. Pro environment, pro people, pro freedom of speech, pro everything. I mean, I'm not pro everything. If you can't hate, man. If you what's that saying go where you're like standing for everything, you can't stand for anything or whatever. Like, I'm not pro everything. I hate a lot of things, mind you. My name is cynical. Okay, I hate plenty things. Um, just not that stuff. um, Good to hear your voice. I wanted to ask you if you know Sarai Pancakes a little better as a friend. You know what? Go for it. I can't have friends, so I need to live vicariously through you. That's a sick name, but yeah. Toxic mold outbreak. Oh, brother. Mental fog from burnout to psoriasis. Oh, God. Somebody help. She just has a bad time. She just has a bad time. God, this sucks. You definitely hate compliments. Okay, listen. It just feels weird. Okay, I don't know how to explain it. It makes me uncomfy. I don't feel comfortable. Okay, Jesus. Sorry. Gosh. Learn a creative skill, learn a social skill. Oh, Lord. A creative skill and a social skill? Hey, now we got promoted. Jesus. Christ of mercy. Order pizza, of course. Chat with Poppy. No, he's supposed to be dead. Stop trying to talk to your dad, please. He doesn't say you're amazing, accept it. Thanks. Fine. It's my birthday, I'll take it. I'll take it today. Fine. Fine. How do I order delivery? Delivery! My place is busted, please. Order pizza. Okay, I know this might be blasphemy to some people, but dude, green peppers on a pizza? Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Well, that's an emote. What the hell? Wait, what did you say? Oh, did you not do that on purpose? I thought you did that on purpose. Did you type like shush or something? That seems like something that would happen. Okay, I can't. This house is too big. Please, just deploy the thing, please. Please. What did you say? Hold on, let me see if I can pull up the chat. What was the actual thing that you typed? I'm assuming it's shush. Ah! Oh, Lord have mercy, I missed it. What was that noise? Oh my God. Where's my chat? I typed out shush and it turned into an emote. Oh, okay. Yeah. I miss like the global emote stuff. Like, yeah, they still have global emotes, but like I miss when it was like cool, you know? I miss when like they would have Pride emotes and like they would have Christmas emotes and stuff like that. I miss it. It's like, hey, if you like were in streams for like this many like hours, like this, you know, time or whatever, then you would get limited edition emotes. And it's like, that would be fun. Give me that back. But it's like, oh, you're gonna ban politics on Twitch. How are you gonna ban politics on Twitch? It's a whole category. Please. Man, freaking Twitch. Oh, apolitical. Not talking about politics is a political stance. Please don't piss me off. Oh, wait, we can't talk about that here. Shut up. Dummy, stupid, fool. All of them. Fools, everybody. Jesus Christ. There's 3 that I type out specifically to make it an emote. Like, oh, I never type out anything. I will scroll before I type. Where's my pizza? Also, is this not my front door? It should be my front door. It says it's front door. Okay, so why are we going through the back all the time? What the heck? Why are we always going through the back? Where's my pizza? My diet, Dr. Kelp? How am I supposed to eat without my... Man, Jesus. Yeah, I never do that. So, I swipe text, so it's a lot easier. Man, call me old. I hate swipe. I tried it one time, never again. I hate swiping. I hate it. I text pretty quick on my own. I don't need to swipe. The keyboard automatically corrects it. Oh, yeah, no, I can't. I type pretty quick with one hand, so that's what I do. I type with one hand on my phone. That's pretty much it. Burnt out. No. Oh God. Jesus Christ. What are we gonna do now? What do we do now? Stay on lot for 8 hours. I mean, it's her day off. It is her day off. We could try to go to like the park or something. We could try to go to the park or something. Fine, you're tired. Fine. All that noise, I can't stand it. It's too much noise. Not lazily. No, stop, please. I need a maid. God, there's so many things that I need. This is tough. If I wanted, I can if I wanted to. But swipe just makes it much easier. I'm gonna try again. I'll try swiping again. I will try. You know, I'm not gonna be an old person and be like, oh, I like things the old way. I'll try swiping. All right, no promises, but I'll check it. A stick here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty convenient. All right, I'll try. God, fine. I've been peer pressured. I've been peer pressured. Jesus. But since you insist that it's so good, my brother uses swipe as well. It's like, fine. Since you love it so much, why don't you marry it? Jesus. God. Oh, but me for 2 hours. I have 2 hours left. I'm out of water. I might take a quick break so I can have a snack and fill up my water so I can drink. Maybe I will. Jesus. Now what? Well, we're just here, I guess. We're here, stuck. Yeah, I guess we'll just agree. You know, I'll be there for the wedding. Do you want me to be the officiant or the first man? What do you want? What are we gonna be? Yeah, we can go to the park. She wants to upgrade a social skill and a creative skill. Let's go to the park. Let's go to the park. Let's go to Oasis Springs. We're here. Let's explore the place. It's our first time in this playthrough being in Oasis Springs, so why not? Why the heck not? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go to the park and see what's going on. What's up? What's up? What's up? You can be the flower girl, throw flowers back at everyone. Oh my god. That is pretty cute though. Being a flower person. I wish my dog was well behaved enough. I'm saying this as if I'm going to get married anytime soon. But like, I wish I had a dog that was well behaved enough to be like the like ring bearer or something. Because my dog would not want to. Just imagining Ace. First of all, just trying to be in a suit. Terrible. Okay. Trying to like wrap something around his neck. Absolutely not. Okay. Oh, black flowers at everyone. Oh, that would be fun. If I were to get married, I don't know if I would wear white, but I definitely wouldn't wear black. I feel like I had a phase where I was like, oh yeah, having a black wedding just would be so fun. But like, I think I would pick like, I mean, I guess I never wear white, so it's like the one time where you want to get one of those cannons that shoot them at baseball games. Unironically, don't people get hurt by those? I think like I feel like they shoot things at such a velocity that if you were right in front of it, like point blank, wouldn't that like really hurt? Okay, so this is where we need to go. Break open. Takes level 10 handiness skill. I've never been here. This is how we're trying to be. This is what we're trying to do. Perfect actually. Let's ride around. Let's ride around, queen. Let's explore the place. Clean out spoiled dishes, go jogging, bask in light rays. Ooh, fun. How do I get you to ride around? Something would break for sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Having a point blank to the face. I feel like that happened to somebody, but we're shooting flowers, so maybe not. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you know, if you drop like, you know, a pound of flour or like a pound of feathers and like a pound of bricks, like which one would fall faster? But it's like they would fall at the same rate. They might accelerate differently, but they would end up at their maximum. They would fall at the same rate. So I think even though it's flowers, like doing it at that velocity, I think it would still hurt a lot. Maybe not like as much because like it doesn't like, you know, the force with like the weight and everything, but it would hurt still. Yeah. God, I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd. Why did I hear that and say, well, technically, actually, like what? I'm such a dork. I'm such a dork. I can't help it. That's just how my brain works, man. That's how my brain works, dude. I can't help it. I love doing this. Oh God, her eyelashes. Oh Jesus Christ. Guys, I'm touching grass, guys. I love those videos. They'll be like, what's heavier? And they always say the bricks. Fair. I mean, yeah, well, when it comes to weight is mass times gravity. So like the weight, yeah, it would take a lot more feathers to weigh as much as a pound of bricks. Like 1 pound of feathers is a lot more than 1 pound of bricks. But like, it's still 1 pound. You know what I mean? So yeah, it would take a lot for the mask, but like, God, I'm such a dork. But like, Sims VR, honestly, not bad. I'm not gonna lie, Sims VR would definitely stop me from going outside. I'd be like, why would I need to go outside? I'm socializing right here. I'm socializing right now. Why would I need to go outside? Who says I need to touch grass? I'm basking in the sun rays. What are we on about? This guy. This is better than real life outside. What do you mean? I went jogging today. This is nice. This is even better. What do you mean? Because there's like a busted sewer main like up the street, so I had to pass it like twice. This is definitely so much better. Their politicians actually do the work. This place is gorgeous. I'm curious to see what a pound of feathers would look like compared to bricks. I'm assuming a pound of bricks is like one brick, and like a pound of feathers is like a lot of feathers. Like a whole bag of feathers. Okay, are we gonna stop now? Are we done? Oh, she's only halfway. Okay, she's not even close to being finished. I'm just trying to get her burnout to go away. Trying to get her burnout to get done. 5 hours left. That's actually not bad. She's doing pretty good at getting rid of the burnout. At least I don't think this is helping her burnout. Strangely enough, I don't think this is helping. um, but she wants to level up her fitness skill anyway, so that'll probably help. Mm. But yeah, it's like a whole bunch. An ad break is starting. Oh my god, not the ad break. Oh, we're 2 hours in, so that would make sense. Is it 3 minutes every hour that I have it? I think so. But yeah, if you guys get an ad, it helps to stream. If not, that's totally okay. If you want to never get ads, you know, you can subscribe. That helps to stream. You know, Twitch Turbo is helpful. All that fun stuff. If not, donations are helpful. Every 5 subs, I will take a shot of hot sauce. That's starting tomorrow. But yeah, I think I'm gonna take my break and take the old bracky brack. Oh, you want to be at home alone? Fine. Jesus, sorry for trying to get you to touch some dirt. Jesus, trying to eat some grass. My apologies. Oh, you want to go home? Oh, there's too many people here. Someone else stream, I got hit with an ad break that was 8 ads. Jesus, man. There was one time I got hit with 15 ads. 15. And these were ads that were happening like every I feel like they might have been like 3 minutes of ads every like 15 minutes. It was torture. Because I was lurking in the stream and I'll just be like, do, and then boom, ad. It's like, huh? Yeah, literally, it was be like 1 of 15. It was like 3 minutes long and they were all like 15-second ads. Or like 30-second ads. Please. Please. Oh, I hate that. I hate that so much. It's so freaking annoying. Oh. Like, yeah, obviously you don't want someone to come into your stream and boom, immediately get hit with an ad. So you put ads on so you can at least schedule them. So that it's not like as soon as somebody comes in. But man, you don't need that many ads. Please stop. I'm following and reporting. Listen, I got my I got my VPN so fast. Are you kidding? I got my VPN so fast. I was just like, absolutely not. Like, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous. How dare you? Okay, so I'm gonna be on a break. I'm gonna take a break. It's gonna be like 5 minutes. I'm gonna eat my snack. I got ginger biscuits. Very Jamaican of me. Yeah, I'm gonna finish my biscuits. I'm gonna get more water. I'll be right back. It's gonna be 5 minutes. Don't do anything dumb. Stretch your legs, get something to eat, all that fun stuff. After that, I don't want to watch anymore, and this is dropping. Yeah, literally. It's so annoying. I mean, I guess like, cause I used to never get ads, but I guess Jamaica is like, it's like they're advertising more in Jamaica. So I get ads on YouTube all the time. I get ads on Twitch all the time. It's so, is this how Americans have to deal with? It's so annoying. But yeah, it's a struggle. Whatever. It's not like I'm paying these guys. You know, I'll take an ad or two. I'll take a couple ads, but too many, it's way too much. But yeah, BRB, 5 minutes. I'll be back. Don't do anything too stupid. BRB, I'll be back. backy. We're back. Oh, there we go. We're back. All right. So we're gonna home stretch next 2 hours out. I was gonna check my hand. My watch is dead. Oh yeah, obviously watch gonna die. But like, I'm so used to it now. Okay, listen. If you're into fitness or if you just want to try to be more active, I know big Apple or whatever. Apple Watch is absolutely fantastic. It is a game changer. I will recommend it to everybody. Apple Watch, you need it. Even if you think you would do a regular amount of exercise, you need it. You think you're sedentary, you need it. You think you exercise a whole lot, you need it. It's just man, we really don't move a lot as society. In a society, we really don't move a lot. We don't. We get up, get ready for work, go to work, sit at work, leave work, go to bed. Like, we don't, as animals, as like some of the fastest animals there are, with like a lot of endurance, more endurance than most mammals. Like, we need to do more cardio, man. That's what we're made for. That's what we're built for. Long distance running is what human beings are made for. All right, thinking and long distance. This, like, you need to stretch your legs, man. Stretch them boys. Got them. Also, mobility is extremely important. People are like, oh, I do so much weightlifting. Okay, but like, you would like crack your hip if you're trying to pick something up. Like, you need to stretch. Your muscles mean nothing if it's not being supported properly. You need good bones. You need good ligaments. You need all that good stuff. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I'm just like, oh, my watch is dead. Let me talk about society and health. Like, what is wrong with me? God, anyways, I need you to get an alien friend. Experiencing burnout. Would you experience burnout if I sent you into space? If I shot you into the stratosphere, would you still have a good time? Would you have a good time? Let's check. But yeah, I want more. Speaking of The Sims, because I was thinking about like Raven with Family Day with me. We can look at frogs, boiling death fraud if we're lucky. No, not right now. Family Day. I had a family day yesterday, and one of them stole my stuff. So the answer is no. But yeah, I want a lot of like cross-pack compatibility with the new fairies pack. I need it. I want it. I need it. Okay. I really, really need it. Oh god. Yeah, like, imagine how it would go with like Realm of Magic. You know what I mean? Imagine how it would go with like vampires and stuff. Like, are they gonna be like mermaids, like Island Living, or is it gonna be like a whole like skill tree like type thing? I love that. Suddenly feeling anxious and jumpy. Scrub the CO2. I need more hampers. This house is so massive, bro. A little disturbing. Thought that would help the symptom. Paranoia and bad decision making. Fresh air tank. It must have been a conspiracy. Why didn't the fresh air tank help? Let's deal with this right now. Open the tank. I'm trying not to do anything crazy, okay? I've never space madness. That sounds really scary. Air tank peeks inside. There's nothing in it, nothing at all suspicious. She puts the airlock just in space. A few minutes later, she sees an empty tank float by her window. How did that get there? Is someone following her? Is a road tank? Wait, no. I just spent it outside. She puts it in the airlock and it jets into space. A few minutes later, she sees an empty air tank. Bring it in, blow it up. How did that get there? Man, we put it there. What are we talking about? I'm not gonna blow it up. She's losing it. I wanted to meet aliens. I wanted to have alien friends. Somebody probe me. Jesus. I wonder if I should get a telescope. Ooh, you know what? We should use one of the new telescopes. I don't want her to die, though. I don't want her to die. Because you can get hit by a meteor, right? There's no listening devices that SAF could find. Good. The government agents don't seem to have tracked her so far, but SAF needs to be sure. Examine the tank. Please. This is not what I wanted when I said go to space. Oh my gosh. Scans the tank. Special micronoscope and sees a serial number. It's from her own ship. Whoa, this is crazy. How did it get outside? I put it there. What do you mean? Let's just go home. Let's not go into space while we're losing it. Let's go home. because that's ridiculous. Absolutely crazy. Space madness, irrational action. Saffron head is spinning awkwardly. Oh god. Give me a break. Give me a break. Jesus Christ, man. All right, let's just eat the last slice of pizza and start fixing the rest of this house. Because my god, repair, please, please. Repair electronics. Huh. Never seen that before. Interesting. Um, but yeah, I really want. I know it sounds crazy. I really want the pack to be good, but I really do. I want it to be nice. I want it to be real good. I need it to be real good. And I'm just really scared because I've been wanting fairies for the longest time. I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't want them to do it bad. I'm gonna be so scared. I'm worried. Oh my god. I just don't want it to be bad. I just don't want it to be bad. I want like to, have different wings. I want different colors. I want different like, I want them to like do well with the mischief skill. I want them to like the fairies and the mischief skill to go like this. You know what I mean? Like I need that. I love fairies. Fairies were my favorite. Favorite. Oh, when I was playing The Sims 3. Fairies are so sick. Fairies weren't in The Sims 2, I don't think. But they were absolutely amazing in The Sims 3. I feel like they might have been in The Sims 1, but I'm not sure. I've never played it. I'm planning on playing it soon. Maybe sometime this month, actually. I want to play Civ 7 first. Then I'll play Devil in Me. Then I might play The Sims 1. We'll see. But yeah, I just want it to be good. I just want the pack to be good. I don't want it to be bad. So the trailer comes out the 5th. It comes out this Thursday. Or I guess the teaser. The teaser trailer. Or did we just watch teaser? Whatever. Whatever. Is it? I keep thinking it's gonna be a game pack, but I think it's gonna be an expansion pack because everybody else keeps saying that it's gonna be an expansion pack. Like I'm just assuming it's gonna be a game pack, but if it's an expansion pack, that would be crazy. Like, how do you turn fairies into an expansion pack? Like that would be a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff. Like we would have to have a livable world first of all. One thing I'm really happy about is that persons who are like occult mains, you can have like a whole occult like thing, like playthrough, and like be satisfied. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't have to touch anything else at all. Like you could just, oh, you want to go somewhere? Oh, let's go to Ravenwood. Oh, you want to do something? Oh, let's go to Realm of Magic. Like I can't remember the Realm of Magic world. What's it called? Whatever. But yeah, like there's so many occult worlds now that you could really just do. I know there's an occult challenge, but like you really could just do a whole occult thing and not touch a single like regular sim, which is actually really freaking sick. I'm really excited for Halloween this year because I want to finish the Not So Human challenge, which I started last year. And I want to do the occult legacy challenge. I want to do it. It seems like it's so fun. With all this new stuff going on, I like it. I'm into it. Please don't die of mold. God, she really is chased by death. I don't think she has the trait, but man, from mold outbreak, please, I'm begging you, please don't die from this. That's gonna make me really upset. It's gonna make me real mad. This might be the only mold. I hope. Guys, do you think we should do it by fire? No, her life is terrible enough. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do all that. She's been through enough. I don't need to set the place on fire. It's not necessary. She doesn't need anything else negative happening in her life. Let's scrub the spores off, and hopefully she'll be good after this. Here's hoping. But yeah, I'm really excited for the new pack. It looks like it's so fun. It looks like it's a whole lot of fun. I want it now. Oh my god, I want it. Dude, imagine the challenges you could do. Imagine the possibilities. It would be so fun. Like, hello? It will be so sick. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm excited. But another thing I was really excited for that I'm disappointed about is that the Megan Thee Stallion thing. I really thought it was gonna be a swimwear line thing, but it was just a stream with her and Quinn. It's like, you see, now I want the what's it called? Now I want her swimwear stuff in The Sims. Now I want her to like make music in Simlish. Like now that's what I want. You teased it, and now that's what I need. You teased it, and now that's what I want. So I need this. I know that wasn't like the initial plan, but I need the Sims team to do it right now. I need the Sims team to give me that right. It's summertime. You know, hot girl summer. I want to have a hot girl summer in The Sims. I want to have a hot girl summer in The Sims. Give me Megan Thee Stallion in The Sims. It's not fair. I want a Megan. I want a Meg in The Sims. Please and thank you. I'm gonna get a telescope because why not? Life's been it's a little bit too mundane. It's a little bit too boring. So I'm gonna try to get a telescope. Telescope. Bam. Telescope. Oh, I don't have enough money. $750. What can I sell? I feel like the house is really crowded. Is that just me? It can't just be me. This is something that I would design, yeah, but would I actually use it? No. There's so many things, and I hate it. I feel like everything's just in my way all the time. I can't stand it. Oh, I have enough. Oh, would you look at that? Would you look at that? I want it to be in our little activity backyard. So I'm thinking, where would I put it actually? I really want to see my backyard. I mean, I guess I could expand the backyard. I guess there's nothing stopping me from doing so. I suppose. Nah, it's okay. I'll just BB dot. Move objects. 1. Big bam. Big baboo. Bam, 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 bam. Nice. Clearly this is a great place to have the telescope, okay? I don't want to hear anything from anybody. This is a great place for it to be. And the fact that I can't just put it here normally is criminal. Bam. Obviously. Iconic. Iconic. Okay. But yeah, I need Megan's swimwear and stuff in The Sims. Mostly because we don't have enough swimwear. Even with like the kits and stuff, we don't have enough swimwear. So, track satellite. Ooh, fun. Ooh, fun. But yeah, even with all of that, we don't have enough swimwear. So I need more. I need more swimwear. And just because I love Megan, like, it's just not fair. It's not fair, honestly. Like, you just have a Megan stream and you don't do anything else. Like, you didn't even ask. You didn't make her an offer. Like, nothing of that. I don't know, man. Sounds kind of crazy to me. That doesn't sound like good business decisions. I don't like that. Order delivery. Let's do Zoomers again. Let's go. I thought it said black eyed peas. That's black and peas. Let's have some clam chowder. I don't know. Clam chowder looks good. Is that just me? Am I dumb? Am I sinning by saying that? I feel like in like old movies that I would watch, people would really love that stuff. Like no, people would always make fun of clam chowder. But like looking at it and like hearing it, like clam? Like a porridge? Like a fish porridge? That sounds fun to me. What do you mean you can't get it? What do you mean? I put it here just for you. I made this for you. What do you mean you can't do it? Oh god. Can you? Oh, you can. Okay. That was weird. I don't know why she reset like that. Oh, dang it. Can't have anything around here. Oh my god. Annoying. That's what I get for cheating. Jesus. Oh, but yeah. The I really want that. I need more of that. I need more collabs. Not too many collabs. Not too many. But like once a year, once every 2 years. I don't see an issue with that. I do not see an issue with that. I don't see why not. Why can't I put this here? Why not? What if I put it this way? I don't really like it this way, but like what if? I hate it this way. I had a whole tree in it. I wonder if it'll work this time. I wonder if it'll work this time. Come on. Stargaze. Dang it! Oh, whatever. Oh, whatever. Whatever. Where's my delivery? Am I not getting my delivery? Where's my delivery? Where's my delivery? Oh, Jesus Christ. Everything is going terribly. Everything is going terribly wrong. Oh my God. Just give me a break, please. I don't want to have to cook. Ugh. Fine, I'll get some pizza. Fine, I'll get some pizza. Pizza delivery. Zoomer service is already on the way. No, it's not. Don't lie to me. It should have been here already. It should have been here already. Yeah, I love... My go-to pizza is mushrooms, no cheese, light sauce, well done. I know that sounds insane, but I love it. It's so fun. It's such a good pizza. It's such a good pizza. I love... If I'm having cheese, I would have cheese with green peppers, which is also fun. It's just... oh, I just love pizza. I love pizza that has like onions and stuff on it. People are like, oh, why would you have such and such on it? Pineapple on pizza? Man, that's the least of your worries. I love pineapple on pizza, but it's just not, it's not exotic enough. You know what I mean? It's not enough. I need more. Where's my why am I not getting any deliveries? What's going on here? Not a single one? No Zoomers? No anything? They must hate me here. It's like, oh, this is the girl that is always crying about her dead parents. You definitely shouldn't go over there. She's a weirdo. Like, I can't believe this. Nobody? Nothing? Madness. Madness. Level up handling skill. Hey, thank you. It's about time, honestly. The fact that these things are still broken is crazy. But, yeah, it's great pizza. Vegetarian pizza? Great pizza. Great pizza, great pizza. I mean, I'm not a big olives fan, but I will eat it. That's the thing. I feel like you can definitely tell who wasn't forced to eat their veggies as a child. Because, like, I'm not a fan of olives, right? But, like, I know it's not bad for you. So, like, I'll eat it still. If there's olives on it, I'm gonna eat it. I won't eat jalapenos because I don't want to die. But it's good. Like, why is like, oh, I don't want to eat this. So, and who cares? Replace. Hello? Who cares? It's good for you. Hey, oh, now you show up. After I ordered pizza? Oh, God. Oh, the guy is on his way. I didn't believe it. Hey, can I get this for free? This was over 30 minutes. I should be able to get this for free, right? That's not fair. That's not cool. Afraid of the dark? Girl, what are you not afraid of? You're afraid of everything. Oh my God. I was literally about to say, if this guy's here, that means the pizza guy's coming soon. Well, at least we have food for a couple days. At least we have food for a couple days. No one was around, so we left delivery on your lot. Man, I'm right here. I said hello. Like one of those people that's like, well, there's nobody here and just like leaves it or just takes it with them. Like, what do you mean? What are we on about right now? I never really understood the whole idea of like Uber Eats. I mean, obviously, like for persons who can't, like, you know, get groceries and stuff by themselves. Obviously, that makes sense. But like, just like as a regular thing, feels so strange to me. Like, you want a drink from this place and then the food from that place, but you also want like some groceries from this other place. Like, can you just not run errands for the day? Like, I'm not understanding. And then you get upset when somebody who's paid to deliver stuff to you, things that you don't want to do, doesn't do it the way that you would have not wanted to do it yourself. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, you don't want to do it, which is why you pay somebody else to do it. And in fact, this person also doesn't want to do it. You're upset. Like, nobody wants to do it. That's the whole thing. That's the whole point. Oh, gosh. You don't have any cash for pizza? You can have the pizza, but it's not free. 9 is coming your way. Okay. All right. We're broke. I need more time. I need more time at work. I need more time. Prank day. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, let us level up our logic skill because this is taking way too long. We can't use the freaking telescope. Oh my God, fine. I'll do it outside. Fine. She doesn't like being around people. She doesn't like it. So I'm not trying to make her. But fine. Since you insist, can I just expand this? Can I not just pull this that way? Oh my God, you suck. Fine. Since you want to be such a butt about everything, Jesus. Here. Goddamn. Fine. Even daily festivals. I do wish that the festival like notification that came with what was it called? What was it called? Business and hobbies. I was gonna say hobbies and business. Same thing. But I wish that notification like turn off and turn on thing works for everybody. Hi, Aaron. That's an interesting way to spell Aaron. Do you yearn for freedom, sir? Do you want to fight? Jesus Christ. That's such a niche. I mean, it's not a niche reference, but like a lot of simmers don't watch anime, so it would be a niche reference. Jesus, I love her nails. God, Saf is so fun. I love her. She's so cool. She's so cool. I want to be like you when I grow up. Oh God, I can't even say that like in a joking way anymore because like I'm 28. I'm already grown up. I've been grown. Oh God, ew. I'm an adult. She's an adult. Oh God, dude. I went to work the other day and they're like, "Wow, you're like somebody. You're like our parent." They said I'm like their parent. I'm not that old. 28. What do you mean? Oh, she's like she's all mature and stuff. That's why she's all mature and stuff. Like, hello, I'm not that old. And then they called me 50. It hurts, man. It hurts. I'm not that old. It's ridiculous. I'm 28. I'm not that old. Who am I trying to convince at this point? Is it me or is it you? I feel like I'm trying to convince myself at this point. Because what do you mean? What do you mean? Oh gosh, whatever. It's fine. Will say that I tried to put my shoes on yesterday. No, was it yesterday? No, it was Friday. It was actually Friday. Um and I like popped my hip. I'm so old. I popped my hip when I was putting on my shoes. It's ridiculous. Like you hear about these things all the time, but like it's true. Like it's true. Like oh god. Things that you just never expected to pop are popping. Like it's ridiculous. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this, grandpa. I don't want to do this anymore. Oh god. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what it would be like worse than this. Cause like yeah, like me like walking and stuff, it definitely helps. Like with my joints, it helps a lot. Um, but there's gonna come a time when like it might not, and that's scary to me. I don't want to experience. It's not a feeling that I really wish on anyone. Like it really hurts when you like really like pop something. Like it's not fun. It really stops you in your tracks. It hurts, and there's no way to like prepare for it because it just happens. And it's like, oh, I'm definitely gonna be prepared for the next one. Nope, no, you're not. No, you're not. So it's tough. But hey, I was gonna say I've been through worse before. That's not true. Yeah, no, that's not true. Like I've had, when I was younger, I had like my joint issues were really bad. So the like I would like wake up in pain of like muscle contractions and like my knees and my ankles hurting me so much that I would cry. Like it was really bad. Um, so like it's not worse than that, but it's like not a lot less than that, if that makes sense. Obviously, like it not being a continuous thing, but like because it kind of just like shows up out of nowhere, it still feels very like ooh, you know what I mean? But we've gone through worse. We'll survive. We'll get it. We'll get it. It needs to like I've been researching like how to like increase like collagen production and stuff like that because that's like what makes you like older is like decrease like in collagen production. A new job might be a solution. What do you think? I need to challenge myself. Yeah, get a new career. Yeah. Get a new job, queen. Um, but yeah, collagen production like it helps with like you know your joints and like pain and stuff like that. And the thing that I found, which obviously when you think about it, it makes sense, is that like bone broth soup. I think it's like a Chinese thing specifically is what I was looking at, where it's like of course you get the bones of animals and then you boil it, and then you drink it. um, which you know as someone who's like not a vegan but like has been vegan for a very long time, it's not something that I want to participate in. It's not something I want to partake in. It just feels really gross. But I mean, if it's good for my joints, like what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? It's not like they're gonna use it anymore. I might as well. I might as well. So I'm trying to like that sounds terrible. I'm trying to get more bones in my diet. It sounds stupid. I know it. I know. But I'm really trying to have more like bones in my diet so that my bones don't like give up and like fall over. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. um, So far, all the supplements and stuff, and like, you know, fruits and veggies and roots and all that stuff that I've been taking have been very helpful. I definitely feel a lot better. Lost a lot of weight. My body just feels nicer, so that's good. But there's always more. I do need to get back into more weightlifting, which like, yeah, I do like Pilates for like stretching and your joints and stuff, and like, yeah, I do cardio, which I never used to do, but like weightlifting does also help. I was reading that weightlifting, like if you like don't weightlift, then like your bones will just like collapse. um, so that's fun, but yeah, I really want to like get back into more weightlifting, and plus like I want like a strong back. You know, as someone with scoliosis, like the getting stronger muscles in my back helps a lot. Oh, look at it. Speaking of exercise, um, getting stronger muscles helps a whole lot, but doing it with just like a dumbbell is not easy. To like do like a whole back exercise with a dumbbell is like not great. So I do need to do more weightlifting. So that's my thing. I don't want to end up going back to the gym because like I love running outside. I love, you know, getting a breath of fresh air and like there's nobody really there. You know, it's like morning, morning. You know what I mean? It's like that's nice. I enjoy that. But God, sometimes you gotta do what you don't like because it's good for you. So I might have to do that. Please don't get hit by anything. Oh God. Okay, I thought she was gonna get got. Jesus. And off Cosmos. Okay, so she keeps turning us off. So she hasn't been abducted by an alien. I was trying to get her abducted, but she hasn't. So, and I don't want her to get hit by anything. And it's raining. So let's go back to the thing, and we'll go back to see what else we can do. I really want her to level up, like really quick. Oh, we have 3,000 points. Speaking of, oh my gosh, traits. I want you to create visionary. No, it's connections. The one I'm looking for. Connections. We'll start several levels ahead. Okay. Well, we already started, so that's not gonna help. Entrepreneurial maybe. Is this it? What is this? More likely to get promoted in a career, which is weird for entrepreneurial, but okay. Sure, why not? 1,300 left. What else can we do? Free services, speed reader, night owl. Ooh, inspired explorer. Ooh, build relationships and gain skills faster outside of their home neighborhood. Okay, well that doesn't really do anything for me. That doesn't really do anything for me. Observant, gym rat. Doesn't gym rat give you fun? Build fun and doesn't lose hygiene when exercising. Sure. Sure, why not? I want her to be sweaty, but she's already dirty in this place. Um, is that it? Is that enough? I don't want her to smoke. Sims with this trait are less prone to addict to nicotine. Am I gonna get her to smoke? Oh, fine. Fine. I'll get her a cigarette. Jesus. I just feel like she's so like she's struggling a lot. She needs to find ways to cope. Okay? She needs to find ways to cope. She went to the counseling. It helped a little bit, but not like a whole lot of it. I'm like I don't want her to smoke the devil's lettuce because we already had a sim that did that in this legacy challenge. So like I don't want her to do anything like hard drugs because she's not gonna be able to like. I mean, obviously cigarettes are hard drugs. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh my God, it's 3 in the morning. No wonder you wanted to stop. Oh God. Go to bed, queen. I'm sorry. Go back to your queen bed, queen. Dude, queens are absolutely massive. Have you guys noticed that? Queen size beds are huge. Like it's ridiculous how big they are. Like there's no reason for them to be that big. Actually, there's no reason for them to be that big. It's ridiculous, but like, first of all, just the concept of a master bedroom, horrible. Okay, we already know that, right? But damn, that king size bed are so big. What are you gonna do with all that? There's only one person. Oh, we have work today. All right, because we got promoted. I think changed. Oh, interesting. What do you want? What do you want? You have a crush on Tyson? Sure. I couldn't talk to people. I'm living vicariously through you. Oh, we have work today at 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, I guess. No, I'm like, oh, maybe it makes sense to be an astronaut in the night, but like, does it? Does it really? I don't think it does. I mean, just whenever the sky is clear is a good time to be an astronaut, because that's the only time they can fly. But like, does it have to be at night? Do you want to look at the stars or something? I mean, I guess, but like, sure, if you say so, I guess. It's such a strange career. Like you would think that being an astronaut, the career would go from 9 to 5. You would think so, or like maybe like 10 to like 8 or something like that. You know what I mean? But like, no. Okay. If you say so. If you say so. What? I'm not an astronaut, so I can't tell you if it's right or wrong. Just wasn't expecting that at all. I wonder how much I have left in this aspiration. Um, Nerd brain. We've been going up pretty quick. I hate when they do this. Like when you go to the aspirations and it just like resets to the beginning. I don't like that. I don't like it. Okay, we're at the last one. Huh, interesting. I haven't reached level 10 handiness yet, so after we finish this, yep, there we go. Hey, let's go. We did it. Boop, 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 boop. Mail in my mailbox. $3,300 for bills. Do I look like I made money to you? Max skill, master the logic skill. Jesus Christ. Oh my god, making headway, living a fulfilled life. It's no fluke. Seth is taking charge of her dreams. Also picking up a few necessary life skills along the way. Oh my gosh. Confidence gain. Jesus Christ. Okay, so when do we have work? 3 hours? Okay. Let's try to build up our handiness. Why not? Oh, we don't have any money, so we can't. Making headway. So it's brighter each step as a reward. Staff now enters a boost to all skill gains. Thanks. After I get to level 10. That's so sick. Achieved her dreams becoming extremely learned. Only book smart possesses practical intelligence too. Handy. Can instantly fix or upgrade objects. Would you look at that? Instantly? You mean immediately? Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I'll just put that to the test. Can I upgrade my bed? Because she doesn't get enough sleep. Mattress firmness. Upgrades and allows Sims to be more restful sleep and wake up in a positive mood. Let's do it. We got 3 hours until work. I gotta get this up to level 10. I need her to get an alien. Like, wait, I might just like try to grind the work stuff. I wonder if the workaholic trait would help because she can go to work away from work. Can you work overtime with the workaholic trait, or is that just like the salary man from Mount Comerivi? God, Sony Escape. Jesus Christ. There's so many packs. Dude, somebody, I can't remember what his name is. I think it's like Sim Mathy or something like that. Showed like the old, one of the old menus when they would like show like a list of all the packs that you had. Man, it was so far. It was so far. Like, jeez, good lord. Oh, I was gonna say, oh, I can upgrade my rocket. No, I can't. It takes money to upgrade your rocket. Fine. Explore space. I want to go to Sixum as well. I've never been to Sixum, so that's what we'll do. We'll get to level 10 handiness skill, and then we're gonna go to Sixum. 33 minutes. What else can you upgrade? Can you upgrade your AC? No, dang it, boring. I don't have any money, so I can't upgrade this. I also can't make anything with my handiness desk. I want to upgrade things that I use frequently, not just everything. I guess I'll upgrade the bathtub. Why not? Why the hell not? Cleaner Sims, sure. Why not? Obviously. But yeah, it's, I don't know, man. It's tough. I can't even remember what I was talking about. My brain. But I'm trying to get used to streaming for longer again. Try to stream for like 4 hours on a Sunday. Well, maybe not just Sunday. I might, because I know that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I have school. So I'd have to stream like really early, about like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But then, yeah, why are you going this way? That's so strange. Is the front of the lot this way? No, it's not. So why are you going this way? Oh, Sims. Sims are so annoying. I have the front door set as front door. So what is the issue? What is the problem? Whatever. Work hard. Nice. You do that. You do that, King. Staff is off to work. Yay. Okay, so we got the thing that would make it easier for her to get promoted. I don't know if yeah, I don't know if going to 6M is a thing for here. For this, like, what's it called? For this career, I don't know if it does that. I don't know how to explain it. It just makes sense to my brain. Okay. Let's be good at many things at once. Prudent student. Become an adult. Level 3 in any career. Level 3 in 2 careers. Level 3 in 3 careers. You know what? Sure. I'm bored. Why not? Why not? Why not? Performance game. Nice. Level 3 in 2 careers. Reach level 5 in 5 skills. Sure. I'll do that. Come on. Get me promoted. Get me promoted. Dun, dun. Why you keep calling me? Remember that job? I got it. Yes. Fantastic. That's so good for you. I'm trying to get promoted. So please stop bothering me. But yeah, whew, yeah, I'm trying to get used to streaming for longer again. Cause man, it's like I've been streaming for like what, almost 3 hours now, and I have 1 hour left. And like my brain, it just feels so like scattered. Cause this is usually around the time where I would feel scattered, but only 300. Oh, I'm gonna need more than that. Oh boy, I'm gonna need more than that. Oh, that's not good. Oh, I'm not getting enough money. Sturdy faucets, frequency of breaking. Oh, instant upgrade. Quickly give this object all its upgrades at once. Oh, that's different. Oh. Oh, all of its upgrades at once. Oh. That's new to me. Oh, wow. Because I was like, why is it taking time for her to do these things? Why do I have to speed through it? She can give them all of it? All of them? That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's go. So, did it work? Let's see. Upgrade. Oh no, no, I don't want. Oh no, I don't want that. Oh god, I didn't. Oh god, I don't want that. Oh, there's a werewolf outside. There's a werewolf outside. Instant upgrade. Oh, I need this stuff. Oh, I can't do it all the time. Okay, well that makes sense. Well, that makes sense now, doesn't it? Take a nap. Sure. It's the middle of the night anyway. Go take a nap. Bam, easy. I guess it does kind of suck that I have to wait until I can instantly upgrade everything again. I get why you can't, but geez. Yay, earthquake! Thanks for waking me up. Can I upgrade this now? Do I need all of the stuff? Oh, I can't. Oh, that's so frustrating. Oh, whatever. Level up fitness skills. Sure. Let's just try to get her swimming again. Why not? Why the heck not? Is she level 5 fitness yet? I would like her to get level 5 fitness. But I'm trying. I remember back in the day, back in my day, I used to I did one 24-hour stream. I did a bunch of like 8-hour to 12-hour streams. I did a bunch of those. And I'm trying to get back into that mindset, that grind. I want to do like one 24-hour stream a month. I know that sounds insane. I initially I want to do one every quarter, but like what if I did one every month though? Like what if I did though? Like June just started. I got a whole month. I don't want to say guaranteed next week Sunday could be a 24-hour stream. I don't want to say that, but like Sunday is the best time to do a 24-hour stream for me because I don't have work, I don't have school. I might as well. I might as well. After this, I'm gonna clean my room, gonna do my laundry. I'm gonna go see my grandma. Like, I shouldn't have too much to do next week Sunday. So. From fatigued. Oh, because you're lazy? Oh, don't upset me right now. This is so annoying. I want an alien. Okay, let me go to Social Bunny. Not Social Bunny. Cupid's whatever. I need an alien. Cupid's Corner, yes. I need an alien. I need an alien. I need an alien right now. She needs to talk to somebody. She can't, but she needs to talk to somebody. Come on, give me an alien. Give me an alien. David. No. Oh, you're cute, but no. You're a cutie, but no. I've never seen an alien on these. I never have. So, hopefully I can find one. Even if it's from the gallery. It would be nice. That's so great. Tetsuya. Great name. Tori from Newcrest. Are you an alien? No. God damn it. Refresh matches. Let's try again. But yeah, maybe they will give me an alien sim from the gallery or something. Carmine, Sansequoia, Jack. Jack? Oh, he's cute though. Oh god. Raquel, Copperdale, Colleen. Come on. Give me something. Give me somebody. Aaron. Squeamish. Oh, come on. Ebony. Are you? Oh, you're the one who slept with my dad. Oh, Jesus Christ. Whatever. Whatever. God. Can't have anything around here. Um, likes video gaming. Good for you, Queen. Good for you. That's great for you. It's 4 a.m. You have work in 10 hours. Just try to get more sleep. Just try to get more sleep. I'm waiting until I can upgrade everything again because I'm trying. I want to get into that other world right now. You just. So, do I have to wait like once a day to instantly upgrade? Do I have to wait like once a day? Oh, God. I don't want to have to wait to instantly upgrade. I guess I'll just start doing other stuff in the meantime. I might as well just try to upgrade other things in the meantime. I might as well. So I guess I'll just go over to this bathroom and start upgrading stuff. Why not? Why the heck not? Because I need her to get to level 10 handiness. We're at level 9 right now. So I need her to get to level 10. I need to add a bidet. I need a bidet. Man, I have a bidet in my cart on Amazon. It's like $38, something like that. Something like that. Like, bidets are so cheap. Why doesn't everybody have them? Like, I don't have it because I've been doing other stuff. Like, trying to get other stuff in the meantime. But, like, bidets are so awesome. I just, we need toilets that, like, will encourage squatting. I don't really want, like, ones that are, like, on the floor. You know what I mean? Because, like, oh, you know, you're gonna splash and everything and all that, right? But I do want one that's a little bit lower so that you can squat, you know? Beyond repairs. Let's go. Max Hennison skill. Nice. Can parts from salvage and can craft toilets at the woodworking table. Also upgrade kitchen parts twice as fast as before. Nice. Max handiness skill. You know what that means? You know what that means, boys? We're going to the place. We're going to the play. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go outside. We're going to the park. And we're going to go into the secret special world. I've never gone there before. I've never gone before. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. Let's go. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for you. Well, mostly I was waiting because I wanted to do it with my Super Sim. But since they are never going to stop releasing packs, there's always going to be stuff for your Super Sim to do. And it just doesn't really make sense. So, this is what I'll do. I'm doing it in Not So Berry. Let's do it. Let's go. What do you think it looks like? I've never been in there before. What do you think it looks like? Ah, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay. I love The Sims, man. The Sims is so good. I love The Sims. I love simming. I love simmers. I love The Sims. It's just ridiculous. Come on, let me have it. Let me in. I should save. I don't know, remember the last time I saved. It might have been just now, but I'm gonna do it again anyway because I'm scared. Shady Alley in Everstad. Someone intriguing could be waiting. And nice. Let me go ahead and save. Let's do it. It is 10 a.m. Why is it overcast? Oh, it's winter? Since when? Since when was it winter? Oh, this is news to me. This is news to me. Come on. Come on. You're taking way too long. You're taking too long. Okay. Don't scare me like that, game. Stay unlocked for 8 hours. Yeah, love that. Homebody. Love that for you. Okay. Let's do it. Well, guys, what do you think it looks like? No spoilers. No spoilers. No spoilers. Where is it? 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 Oh, it's right here. Nice. Boom. Break open. You just spent $18 that we don't have. Ma'am? Ma'am? Oh, she's using her bicycle. I do love that we have bicycles now. I was like, yes, please. Ride your bicycle all the way over there. It only makes sense. It only makes sense. I'm so afraid of riding bicycles because, like, I don't really have the balance for bicycles. So, like, if there's, like, a pothole or something, then I'm going to have to, like, get off the bicycle, pick the bicycle up, get in front of the pothole, and then do it again. Like, I don't want to do all that. I love the idea of having a bicycle. I feel like a scooter is more for me. Not a bike, not a bicycle, but definitely a scooter. Ooh. 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 Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's open. It's the first time it's been open. Oh my god. Explore. Don't leave, ma'am. Oh my gosh. What? Did you just slip? She's too clumsy. Bro, this is not a time. This is your moment. Oh my god. 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 Oh. It's gonna load again? Is it gonna load? What's happening? Is it gonna give me like a prompt? Oh! Oh! Oh, I have to. Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought it would just immediately bring me there, but I have to. Oh, okay. Saf, ever the intrepid explorer sets out to spelunk the cave. There are two pathways, a narrow of the two is a bit um stalactite. Oh, stalactite. That's funny. But Saf stalagmite fit if she squeezes. Oh my god. Take the narrow path. Come on. I had no idea it was gonna be like a little like quest pop-up thing. This is fun. The dark winding fissure proves too difficult to navigate. Quickly becomes stymied and frustrated. Oh, so can I not go again? Embarrassed from neighborhood exploration. Only think it difficult to get lost in a mystical location. One which just be wrong. Okay, she can do it again. Okay, okay. Let's go. Don't quit. We're not quitters. Go back. Let's go. We have we have until 2 a.m. It's probably not the best time to do it before we have work, but hey, it's worth a shot. Let's go over house and hang out. Gilmore Manor, not right now. Take the wide path. Whew. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. No need to try something dangerous. Saf creeps down the main branch and spies through the dim remaining light a switchback headed gradually up and a rickety ladder heading down. Let's go climb the ladder going down. I don't think we're going up. I think we're going down. I mean, there is a giant rock here, but I don't think we're going up. Saf carefully plunges into the black abyss, groping her way along spindly rungs. After a long descent, a faint azure light starts to fill the expanse below. She can step off onto a dim mossy thing or continue into the blue. There's a light. Step onto the ledge. Maybe. I hope it's not a light back home. Don't make it a light back home. Please. Please. Oh! A soft mossy path leads Seth effortlessly onward until she spies the entrance to a beautiful grotto. Travel! Oh my gosh! Would you like to Saffron to travel to Forgotten Grotto? Yes! Oh, fun! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I thought Forgotten Grotto was like the name of like a lot or something somewhere. I feel like I've heard that before. But oh, I'm excited. Oh my god, we've never done it before. I didn't think it was gonna I didn't think I was gonna get it so soon. That's what I get for raising her as a child. Because she completed her aspiration. She completed most of the things that she had to do already. Like, this is so fun. Oh my gosh, okay. Alright, 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 alright. Oh! My heart just sank. Oh, it's so pretty. The lighting is interesting. Oh my gosh. What's this? Oh, it's dripping! That's such a sick detail. Oh, is this the return back? Oh, it's dark. Go home. Oh, it's very dark. It's very dark. I love the dripping. That's so fun. Build sand sculpture? No. Art. Ming Feng is pretty funny. Wow, genius. Great. Did I get something special? A leapfrog frog. Starts working an hour. Man. Oh, there's so much handiness stuff in here. That's funny. Use the toilet. Why not? Somebody's been doing stuff in here. Oh, so this is where they use all that debug stuff. Oh. I didn't know. I thought it was just like in debug. Like I didn't know that they're actually used somewhere. Oh, this is nice. I mean, that's how you get stuff into debug, but still. Is this it? Oh, there's a fishing spot. Can I swim in here? Tell me I can swim in here. Ah, boring. Boring. Stop. This place is so pretty. There's crystals. Oh, what's this? Wild onion. We have onions? Did I forget that we have onions? I haven't gardened in so long. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It's so pretty. Stop, I'm gonna cry. Wait. Look for frogs. This place is beautiful. Oh, this place is gorgeous. Imagine your sim getting proposed to here. Getting married here. Oh, there's so many fish. Oh, stop it. Stop it. What's this? Potato plant. Potatoes and onions is so interesting. Somebody was definitely living down here. Somebody was definitely like doing hobbies and living down here. There's fish. There's plants. There's a lot of like handiness stuff down here. Somebody's doing something down here. Oh my gosh, dig. Dig, 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 dig. Oh, it's 2 o'clock. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. She has to go to work. She has to go to work. No, 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 no. Stop. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. Imagine this is what she needed. With like her struggle of life. Harvest out of season. Oh, it tells you that it's out of season now. Oh, interesting. I thought the other ones are out of season as well. But it'll now tell you when something is actually out of season. Okay. Hypno frog, sunflower frog. Oh my gosh. This stuff is so fun. Oh, this place is beautiful. Did you pee yourself? What happened? How did we get here? Why? What happened? What? What? Low hygiene. Girl, how? We haven't done anything. What do you mean? Oh my gosh. I know I have work, but like, imagine she has a job as an astronaut, but instead of going above, she goes below. Oh, that's so fun. This is fun. Oh, I'm having such a good time. I love The Sims. Who knew? Somebody who mains The Sims. Who knew? I love The Sims. Stop playing on your phone. You kids on your phones. Just touch grass for 1 second, please. We've learned something. Time capsule. Oh, this is so fun. I love this. Robot salvage parts. I want her to take a picture. I want her to take a picture of where she's at. Dun, dun, dun. I want her to go like over here and take a picture. Go jog over here. Why not? Put your back into it. Let's go, let's go. This place is gorgeous. I know the air smells good down here. I know it's got that good air, you know? Oh gosh, this is gorgeous. This place is so nice. I wanna know the lore behind this place. Like, I don't know any lore behind it. Whoops. Whoopsies. How does it go? Shift tab? Okay. Alright. Let's not answer your phone. Please get off the phone. I need you to take a selfie. Boom. Take selfie. We need this. We need this. Forgotten Grotto. It really has been forgotten. I know that The Sims doesn't really do like secret worlds anymore. It's missing work. If she misses too many days, her performance will suffer. I know. But I'm exploring. Isn't that what you want, an explorer? Oh. Hell yeah. You know what? Hell yes. Oh my gosh, she's never been happier. She's never been happier. Are you kidding? Look at this. Oh, this is sick. Guess where I am? Oh my god, where are you guys? At work? Huh? Where are y'all? At your desk? Huh? I'm here touching more than grass. I thought that was a green aura. That's just her stink. That's just her stink. Oh, look at the light. Oh, the way the lighting works is gorgeous. Are you kidding? Let's get the, yeah, let's get that in there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, lovely. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Oh my gosh. This is iconic. Ooh, I love Saf. I'm so happy that she's having a happy life. All she needs now is a alien husband. That's all she needs now. That's all she needs. Okay, I'm gonna take the other one again, just because I'm scared that there's gonna be a thumb in there or something, because she barely takes pictures. I don't want them to be smudged. These are gorgeous. Gorgeous. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. What in the world? Oh, man. It was a remnant from like the picture notification. I was like, I literally scratched my screen. I was like, what is that? What is that? Okay, I know I said I was gonna stream for another hour, but bro, my throat is killing me. I'm tired. So I feel like it's a good place to end it. So thank you guys so much for being here. This was so much fun. Literally, thank you guys so much for the follows and the raids and all that stuff. This was iconic. This was so much fun. Tomorrow I feel like I'm gonna play something different. Maybe like maybe Call to the Lamb, maybe Don't Starve, maybe Civ. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be early in the morning tomorrow. Let us find somebody to raid. Let's find somebody to say hello to. Let's see. Anybody who's celebrating something. The Collective. Yellow Generation. Ooh, somebody's doing Not So Berry. Ooh. You know what? Yeah. Let's raid her. Hi, Lotus. Oh my gosh. Hi, Lotus. I'm actually just leaving. I'm just leaving. I wanted to play for glad I caught you. Been lurking. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being here. Seriously. That was so much fun. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Seriously, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for all the birthday wishes. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your Sunday. Oh my gosh. If you're a follower, the one with the purple hearts is for you. If you're a subscriber, the one with the subs is what you're looking for. But seriously, guys, thank you so much for this. It was a really big day for me. So thank you. I appreciate it a lot. I know I said I was gonna stream for another hour, but girl, I gotta work up to it. I'm tired. 4 hours is a lot for it's a big word for Elmo, okay? I'm just that's too much. Um but I'm still gonna aim for 4 hours. I'm still gonna aim for it. But yeah, if you enjoyed this stream, don't forget to subscribe. Happy birthday, yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you. My birthday was on Friday, but still we're celebrating today, so thank you. If you want to support the stream, bits, subs, donos, like Twitch Turbo, all that fun stuff, they help a lot. So thank you guys so much. It's really helpful. If you want to follow me elsewhere, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all that fun stuff on YouTube. I'm uploading a new YouTube video tomorrow for it's gonna be My Hero Academia reaction for if you guys like anime. It's over there, so don't forget to subscribe and all that fun stuff. Discord, we can hang out in there. We hang out in there a lot, talk about politics and dogs and cats and arts and stuff like that and plants and whatnot. But yeah, I love you guys. You're awesome. You're legendary, and I will see you whenever the heck I see you again, which is hopefully gonna be tomorrow morning. Okay, I love you. You're not gonna get makeup like this again in a while. Okay, bye.